Hello, good evening, professionals. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to the 2021 Annual Risk Managers Congress, themed risk, emerging trends, and cybersecurity. Who is as excited as I am tonight? Let me see you in the chat box if you are as excited as I am tonight. Good evening. Okay, I've seen someone confirm that she's super excited. Yeah, it's so exciting to have you all join me tonight, right? Okay, so I would like to know where in the world you are dialing in from. Tell me in the chat box where in the world you're dialing in from. Lagos, Nigeria, welcome. UK, wow, we're global now. Wow, someone is here from the United Kingdom. Let me know where you're dialing in from tonight. Let me know. Benin City, Nigeria, welcome. Lagos, Nigeria, welcome. We have Lagos. Oh, wow, Redemption Camp. We have Lagos well represented tonight. Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome. Lagos, Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos is really, really, really on fire. You're welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule to join us tonight. Ilorin, Nigeria, welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Grab your pen and paper because it's going to be a splendid night of unlearning and relearning. My name is Chidima Osigwe. I'm a financial analyst, and it's exciting to let you know that I'm moderating tonight's event from the beautiful city of excellence, Lagos, Nigeria. I would also be moderating tonight's event along with the adorable Princess Egwabo, who is also a financial analyst. Princess, can you say hello to us?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Princess.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to be your co-moderator this evening, and I'm in for a very valuable and enlightening ride.
Thank you so much, Princess. What makes you all even think that I am not Princess Egwabo and she's not Chidima Osigwe in this cyberspace, right? That anybody can be anything. Well, grab your seatbelts and go nowhere. You'll find out in course of tonight's lecture. In order to have a conducive environment for learning, kindly ensure that your mics are muted. Turn off your videos. If you have questions during the course of any presentation, kindly make use of the chat box. Do not interrupt a facilitator while a presentation is going on. Kindly note that all your questions will be attended to. You can also reach out to us on Instagram at Seedstars Consulting, and you can also reach out to us at sistersconsulting@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at 0803 32 08036 324090. You can give us a call at 0803 632-4090. The Annual Risk Managers Congress is proudly brought to you by Seedstars Consulting. The Annual Risk Managers Congress is proudly brought to you by Seedstars Consulting. All right, so straight into it. Seedstars Consulting is a professional service company that provides a range of services, which includes financial advisory, training, business strategy, policy formulation, corporate re-engineering, financial reporting, internal control and compliance, taxation, and risk management. So today we have a lineup of fully packed and well-prepared lecture, and it's going to be a long journey from 7 p.m. to 10 minutes past 10. So please grab your pen and paper and be ready to learn. We have 3 papers prepared for tonight. The first one is titled Managing Changing Business Risk Profile, that will be taken by Usoekon Joy, ACA. And then the second paper is titled Current Issues and Emerging Risk for Internal Audit, and it will be taken by Feyi Togan. And the third one is Digital Transformation and Cybersecurity, that will be taken by our convener, the delectable Ayomi Ladokun. All right, as you already know that today's lecture is divided into phases. The first phase will be moderated by myself, and the second phase will also be moderated by Princess Egwabo. So straight into the profiles of the facilitators that we have for tonight. Usoekon Joy, ACA, has over 4 years experience in finance, internal control, internal audit and risk management. She has a background in economics, and she's a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. She's currently the Treasury and Financial Control Accountant at Construction Kaiser Limited. Also, for tonight, still to come, we have Feyi Togan, ACA, who has over 7 years experience in internal audit, governance, risk management, and control, GRC. He has a business in accounting, a degree in risk management, and he is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. He is currently the team lead, internal control at Imperial Homes Mortgage Bank. And then last on our list, finally, is the delectable Ayomi Ladokun, ACA. who has over 5 years experience in finance, audit, internal control, and risk management. He has a background in banking and finance, and he is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. In his career in the banking sector, he has led so many audit examinations into the bank's activities, where fraud occurrences and losses were exposed and prevented. He is currently the risk assessment manager at May and Baker Nigeria PLC. Without taking much of your time, I would like to introduce the first facilitator for tonight, who goes by the name Usuekon Joy, ACA. She'll be taking us through the first paper, Managing Changing Business Risk Profile. Let us give a resounding Zoom welcome to Usuekon Joy, ACA. Thank you. Do we have Usuekon Joy here?
Hello.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me because I think you need to give me access, unmute me.
I can currently hear you.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me and can see my screen. Okay, finally. Hello?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and clear.
All right. We apologize for the network glitches. It happens most times when we have an online training. Those are issues beyond our control, right? Yeah. So while we wait for Usuekon Joy to set up. Joy, are you here now? Okay, so while we wait for Usuekon Joy to set up, I would like to see you in the chat box. Please tell me what you hope to gain from tonight's lecture. Let me see you in the chat box. Please tell me what you hope to gain from tonight's lecture. Hello, are we there?
Yeah. Hi.
Joy, are we ready?
Hello.
Princess says she
Hello.
has
Yes, so I want to confirm if you can see my screen now. Hello. Hello, Chidima.
Hello, I can see your screen, but I cannot see anything being shared. I can only see that you are speaking because your video is currently off, and then I can't see your slides. And then I have a feedback. It's like you are connected on 2 devices, so I can hear myself back. If you're connected on a laptop, you can send me your slides. Let me share from my end. So you just do the talking. Hello, Joy, can you hear me? Hello, Joy, can you hear me? Would like to give you a moment. Would like to give you a moment to sort out the network issue, right? So I would advise that you sign out and sign in back again, and then I bring up another facilitator while you try to sort out your network issues. Is that fine by you? Yeah. So we apologize. Joy, did you get what I said earlier? Okay, so moving on, I would like to introduce the second facilitator for tonight that will be taking the topic, current issues and emerging risk for internal audits. His name is Feyi Togan, ACA. He has over 7 years experience in internal audits, governance, risk management and control, GRC. He has a BSc in accounting, a degree in risk management, and he is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. He is currently the team lead internal audit at Imperial Homes Mortgage Bank. Let us give a resounding Zoom welcome to Feyi Togan, ACA.
Thank you, Chidima. Thank you, I really do appreciate you. So, hello everyone, thanks for having me. My sincere appreciation to the Sisters Consulting team. I think this is the second year that we're doing this management conference, and I really want to give kudos to the convener, Yomi, and also to the team in Sisters. Are doing amazingly well, and it takes a lot of passion and drive to be consistent with this conference. So, hello everyone. My name is Feyi. Chidima has done a nice introduction. Thank you very much. So, I'll share my screen shortly. So I would appreciate if all of us can, let's have a discussion. So it's not just a one-way conversation. I believe everyone can hear me. You can just throw a hi in the chat box. All right. Yeah, I see. Thanks. So today we're just going to be talking about the current risk and emerging trends in internal audit. I believe that we have risk managers, we have internal auditors, we have control people in the as participants. So I'll try and make the conversation very, very robust so that it's not just one-sided. Because in our organizations, one way or another, we have to interface with auditors. And I want to give you an appreciation of what we do, the key areas in our function, and also talk to internal auditors specifically, what's happening in our profession and how we can, equip ourselves for the future. So I'm going to share my slides now, then I'll take it up from there. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to Sisters, thank you to the convener, and thank you to Chidima and Princess. You're doing well. All righty, so 1 minute, please. Okay. I'm very much with you. Just trying to set this up in a way that's good for all of us. So. All right. All right. Okay, good. I can see the chat box and okay. See, can I have a hi in the chat box if you can see my screen, please? All right. Thank you. All right, let's move into it. So, all right. So this is about Sisters. Like I said, they're doing amazingly well. I really do appreciate them. It's not easy coming up with this conference where like minds can share ideas, that helps us in our profession. It's a good thing, and we must appreciate them. All right, though, this is a little about myself. My name is Faye. I've some experience in internal audits. Started my career in consultancy, where I used to work for one of the big four audit firms. And during that experience, I was able to engage with a lot of industries, from food, fast-moving consumable goods, to financial services, to energy. But for the past 5 years, 6 years, it's been called financial institution. But like I said, I'm going to spread the conversation across board. So it's not just tilting towards finance and all that. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that cuts across industries so that everyone can come along and everyone can be engaged. All right. So, yeah. Okay, so I think Chidima already shared some of these guidelines. So please reach out to Chidima or Princess if you have any challenges, and let them know so they can resolve it immediately. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about current issues and emerging risk for internal audit. So we all agree that the times have been very, very unique. You know, coming from the pandemic last year, most of us were working from home. Even some organizations have been working from home. So they've been very unique times, both for us as professionals and also for the organization. So they've been certain issues and, of course, emerging risk, emerging trends across board. Well, I'm just going to focus on internal audit and spread it to the organization as a whole. I'm going to take it through the eye of the internal audit and show you how it affects the whole organization as a whole. All right, so my training outline, so module 1, we're going to have a brief introduction of internal audits, how the duties of the internal auditor, and we'll dive into the trends and risk in internal audit. Then at the end, I'm going to wrap it up with certain skills, certain ideas, certain skill sets that the next generation internal auditor should have. You know, we cannot be doing things business as usual. We'll have to, come up with unique ways to, address some of these trends and risks that we'll highlight in module 3. All right, so by the end of this training, each participant should be able to have a good understanding of what the internal audit function is about, key areas in internal audit, the current trends and risks like we discussed, and also the future of work as an internal auditor. So now I'm going to throw it back to the house. So please feel free. I want to ask you, what do you think the function of an internal auditor is, or what do you think the internal audit function is about? I know we have a very funny perspective out there, but I want to hear from you. What do you think? What do you think the internal auditor does, or what do you think the internal audit unit is about? So please, let's go. Chat box is up. So just let me know, just shoot. What do you think it's about? All right, Princess says checking effectiveness of internal controls. That's strong. Miriam says ensure checks and balances in organization. Thank you very much. Abiodun Adebangu says to ensure effectiveness of control. Smooth. Henry, I see you. Reviews company processes to ensure they follow laid down management policies. Nice, nice, nice. Henry, I'm sure you have control or audit background. Adebago.
Hello, everyone. Please stay put. I think Faye got disconnected due to network issues, and we hope that he joins us back as soon as possible.
All right. Yes, I am. Okay, sorry about that, people. All right, apologies for that. My internet went off. Okay, so please, can I get just 2 hands up if you can see my slide? So you can just continue briefly. Time is of the essence here. Henry, you are correct. Though. Network issues, it's a serious challenge, but we have to work around it. So, yeah. So just 2 hands up if you can see my slide. All right, Bimbo, thank you very much. Okay, so I think while I was away, Bimbo sent in to ensure all controls put in place by the management, all controls put in place by management are in place. All right, that's fine. That's smooth. Femi, independent examination, compliance. Yeah, I think I've read that earlier. Okay, so let's just move into it. Okay, so this is just a cartoon that I threw in here, just for buzz. So auditors, what my friends think I do, I'm sure they just think I sit at one desk and check receipts to make sure accuracy. I don't know. And of course, what my dates, let me say what my wife's parents think I do. I'm sure they think I make a lot of money. When today tell them that you're working from one big organization, as an auditor, especially as a national auditor, you're always working from one firm or the other. So today you're at Coca-Cola, tomorrow you're at Guinness, and they just think that you're a very, very rich individual. What society thinks I do, you just think I'm just one clerk that picks up the phone and just get by. Of course, what my parents think I do, management staff, speaking, ensuring that everything is working well. My son is an auditor, say it with so much pride and ego. Of course, what I think I do is that I catch bad people. But what I actually do is that I do analysis. But like I said, we're going to go into it. This is just for buzz, just for laughs. But people, basically, what this tells us is that people have different perspectives about what auditors do. That's why I question in the chat box. And to be fair, the responses have been really, 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 really good. They are not far from the truth. So let me move into this. All right. So by definition, so let me put this out there. The internal audit function is regulated, not necessarily regulated, but the body that dictates the affairs of the internal auditor is the Institute of Internal Auditors. You understand? So when you go through the institute, you do the necessary exams, you become a certified internal auditor. It's an international organization, it's an international body. But in Nigeria, if you do well, you pass your ICANN, or let's say your ACCA, you also have the right or the privilege to also be identified as an auditor, because both ICANN and both ACCA have the authority to bestow an internal auditor role to you. It's part of accounting, so that's that. So defining internal audit, this definition is from IIA. So internal auditing is an independent and objective all right. Internal auditing is an independent and objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve an organization's operations. That's one. And secondly, it helps an organization accomplish its objective by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance processes. So if we can pick one or two things out of this definition, is that one, internal auditing must be independent. By independent, we mean that an internal auditor must not be biased. It must not be biased. It must have a clear and open mind. Independence, both in appearance and in mind, such that when he comes out with his evaluation, when he comes out with his report, it is easy for people to believe, for people to adhere, because he is not being influenced by anything, be it management, be it board of directors. No, an independent should be independent, free of any bias or any influence. An internal auditor must be objective. These are keywords I'm just trying to pick out. Understand? Objectivity must be objective. Must not be still tilting towards independence. You must have a clear and, with little or no interference in what he's doing. Assurance and consulting activity. Now, internal audit is designed to add value and improve an organization's operation. So for my internal auditors in the house, if whatever you are doing, any function you are carrying out, if it is not adding value, if it is not improving the organization's operation, then there is a problem. It shows that what you are doing is out of the definition of internal audit itself. Now, these assurance and consulting activity must help the organization accomplish its objectives. How? By bringing a systematic and disciplined approach to evaluate and improve on what? Risk management, control, and governance. Okay, so please feel free to throw in your questions while I'm going. I don't mind replying your questions while the session is going on. So please feel free to engage me at any point in time. So I'm going to go straight into what an internal auditor does. This is just some sort of overview. I'll speak through the 6 that has been highlighted here. So 1, evaluate management. So also as an internal auditor, as an internal auditor, our reporting line is straight to the board of directors, the audit committee. We don't report to management. There is a dotted line, reporting line to the managing director. However, we also sit in management. We are part of the management team. We are also interested in the success of the organization. So as much as our reporting line is straight to the board of directors, we cannot remove ourselves from management. And so our first function here is to evaluate management. What exactly is going on? What is the objective of the organization? What is the vision of the organization? Okay, fine, this is what we want to do. The people on this team, we have the necessary resources to achieve this. It's part of your review. It's part of what you do as an internal auditor, to evaluate management. And of course, to speak up once you see that there's a deviation from what the organization is trying to achieve and what is going on. Yet we hold the responsibility to our shareholders, because if this organization was ours, we treat it like this. We have to think like the owner, have an ownership mentality towards what you are doing. Like I said, our reporting line is straight to the board audit committee. However, we are part of management, and we also have to think like the owners. You have to own it, think it. Now, secondly, after we're good with the objective, resources are well allocated. After evaluation of management, the second one is evaluation of processes. So first, you have the management team on board, who report to the board of directors, of course. But because we report to the audit committee the board at board level, they're not, so we need to evaluate these processes. Fine, this is what we want to achieve. Company here has said that they want to be the best marketing team, the best bank in Nigeria in 2022. Okay, that's fine. Do we have the resources to achieve this? Yes, we do. All right. What processes are going to drive this vision, what processes are going to drive this objective. It's our own job as internal auditors to evaluate processes, ensure that they are efficient and effective. The right people are in the right places in order to drive this objective. Now, third is maintaining compliance. There is no registered organization in Nigeria or anywhere in the world that do not have regulators. You have regulators to ensure that you're doing what you're supposed to do well in your space. For instance, in Nigeria, banks is CBN. I think for investment companies, it's SEC. Generally, everybody has their regulatory space. We're going to talk a little about regulations and regulatory risk in the next few slides. But for this, you have to ensure compliance. Femi mentioned compliance in definition of audit. This is absolutely right. You need to maintain compliance. And also compliance is not just a function of external laws. Also internal laws need to be complied to. Policies are backed up, processes are backed up by policies duly approved by management stroke board. So we need to ensure compliance with these policies. Once there is no policy, then there's a challenge, and we need to ensure compliance. Now, let me just give you an instance. If you notice, when you're driving on the road, and for some reason the street light is bad, the traffic light is not working, sorry, you will notice how people drive anyhow. You notice how people drive anyhow. You understand? So those traffic lights are there to ensure that, okay, please drive at this speed, drive at this speed. And also, LASMA, police, they are all there to ensure compliance. Now, I'm not subscribing to how they carry out their compliance, but sometimes I try to cut these people some slack because they're actually there to do a job. The truth is that sometimes, even when we see them as drivers, we behave ourselves. That's also what the internal audit is there to do, maintain compliance. Now, number 4 is to reduce risk of fraud. You notice, it didn't say to cancel or to completely reduce risk. No, but there to reduce the risk of fraud. We need to ensure that proper evaluation of processes, ensure maintenance of compliance, and also reduce risk of fraud. How? By ensuring that we are constantly checking processes to ensure that there are no loopholes. Constantly, you cannot be comfortable with, even when a process is working fine, we still also need to reevaluate it, ensure that it's best practice. Is this what is obtainable out there? Sometimes you can carry out a peer-to-peer review. Don't just be microscopic on your own organization. You also need to check what your competitors are doing. What are other industry leaders doing in your own space? Reduce fraud. Don't create an enabling environment for fraud. And also, let me just use this opportunity to speak to senior management people that are part of the participants today. No matter the level of someone that errs, you understand, be strict with your sanction grid or your policies against that punishes some of these errors, some of these issues. You understand? Don't be how do I put it? Don't be partial. You understand? Stick to the policy. Stick to the policy. If someone goes beyond or goes off, they should be disciplined according to what the sanction grid says. Number 5 is evaluation of financial statements. Someone mentioned it in the chat box as well. So, of course, you need to evaluate your financial statement, ensure that those things are done properly, ensure that general classification of the general reports are done on time. That's like a review of the financial control unit. The auditors don't come up with this financial statement, but we ensure that they are properly done and well done. And of course, 6 is company efficiency. So company efficiency is to ensure that operations and processes are efficient, effective. Are they doing what they are supposed to do? You understand? And of course, as auditors, we are not supposed to be we're not part of operations. We are the 3rd level line of defense to ensure that all these things are going well and when due. And of course, if there are any exceptions, we engage the unit involved and try and ensure that risk is kept at a minimum. You can never eliminate risk, but you can make risk at a minimum where it doesn't affect the objectives or the operations of the business. So let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about emerging trends in internal audit. All right, so please, can I get hands up? I just want to be sure that everyone is there. You know, sometimes this e-lens seems like you're the only one in the room, but let me just get a high five or a hands up. So I know that we're all good to go. All right, thank you, Bimbo. All right, so I'll continue swiftly. So number one, emerging trends in internal audit. So artificial intelligence. AI has been a swiftly accelerating trend across most areas of business in recent years, and as such, brings risk and challenges to overcome alongside its benefits. So times are changing. The way things used to work, they are evolving. There's a lot of evolution in the way things work. So there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of tech involved in operation. Any organization now that is not thinking tech, there's a problem. So most people are going tech. Most processes and most organizations are technology driven. Now, AI, artificial intelligence, is a situation whereby the computer is doing most of the work. Understand? I remember 3, 4 years, 5 years ago, there used to be this fear for tech, because most of the things I used to hear at the time was that when tech comes on board, a lot of jobs will be lost. But I think now we are embracing tech. We realize that this thing has come to stay. So organizations are working around technology. They are introducing technology into their processes. And that is a trend that is going on in internal audit. Even we are not outside of that tech bubble. A lot of our processes are going through automation. So I'll still talk more on AI. Let's just continue. So of course, automation of internal audit processes, RPA, robotic process automation, a lot of that is coming into the audit space. You have situations where, for instance, Amazon delivers, they treat 1.6 million transactions on a daily basis. It is humanly impossible to review that. Say you're going to do an audit at Amazon now, an organization where you treat 1.6 million transactions on a daily basis. It's humanly impossible, like I said, to treat it. So you need a lot of machine learning, you need a lot of artificial intelligence to carry out some of these reviews. And it's coming to stay. It's coming to stay. So as internal auditors, we need to be ready and upscale to that level so that when it comes, we're not like dinosaurs and we're not ready for it. Culture audits are becoming vital. So culture audit here has to do with a situation where the organization, the soft side of the organization, the soft side of the organization is also being reviewed and also being audited. By soft side, I mean, we're not just looking at financials or operations and all that. We're looking at a situation whereby how is the culture of this organization? How is this culture perceived outside? How often is corporate social responsibility, how seriously do you take it? How are you perceived on social media? You have situations where that also makes part of the audit plan. A couple of years ago, that was not considered, but now you have a lot of things coming up. You have situations where you have to also review how your organization embraces diversity, how your organization embraces people's orientation. You understand? So these are discussions that are coming up, and they never really used to be never used to be topics for us auditors, but we cannot run away from it, we cannot shy about it. The world is a global village. There's a lot of interconnectivity. So you have to be open to some of these things. You understand? You don't want a situation whereby the organization puts out the wrong image or the wrong perception. You understand me now? All right. So also internal audit teams may have to do more with less. So what this means is that one way or another, if you like it or not, audit teams that used to be very, very huge in terms of size, it's becoming a little smaller. as AI is taking its play, as automation of internal audit processes are coming on board, you understand that the team is becoming a little small, you understand? And also, some of the resources that may have been available, you understand, may not exactly be there. So, and also your output, the value you bring on board, remember we talked about value in the definition, cannot reduce. So internal audit teams are forced to, still squeeze out the juice out of the lemon. You understand what I'm saying? So these are all trends that are coming up in that space. You understand? So let's move on. All right. So now, while we discuss those trends, now we're going to talk about key risks to internal audit. Now, these risks that I've highlighted here, they are not, they are global. I'm looking at it from a global perspective, and also certain risks also come to us in Nigeria. But what I'm trying to say is that when the internal audit function is developing its annual audit plan, without neglecting established risks, the following risks are also important. So what this is trying to say is that you know your organization as an auditor. You know the risks that are particular to your organization. So what I'm trying to say is that those are established risks. Please do not take them away. You know your organization very well. You know the areas that you should focus on. What I'm trying to say this evening is that in addition to those risks, let's discuss some of these risks that are out there for us to consider. You might want to, reevaluate your audit plan and include one or two of these areas into it, and it will be a more robust audit plan for your organization. So the first risk here is cybersecurity and data privacy in the expanded work environment. We have cybercrime, IT failure, outage, data breaches, fines, and penalties. Let me quickly talk about that. So you would agree with me that from last year, from the lockdown, COVID into this year, the work environment has gone beyond the four walls of the office. I know a Nigerian bank that's still working from home. I have a friend in a merchant bank, and they have been working from home for about a year now. And that is an expanded work environment. The work has gone beyond the four walls of office. People are taking work home, people are working remotely. And the truth is that for this to be properly facilitated, you need a lot of IT. And this gives room, this gives room for cyber security, because how do you ensure that people that are in remote places are still connecting to certain servers in the office, or probably have cloud services, and there might not be an unauthorized interference with any of these. People are using their private laptops, people are using their private connections, VPN, fine as VPN, but still it leaves room for cyber security and cyber risk, and also data privacy. I know when I was in consulting, you can't just put a flash drive in the system, it won't work. It has to be an authorized flash drive from the company. But now some of that has been de-escalated because the work must keep going. You understand? And so this creates a lot of issues, creates a lot of opportunities for risk, cyber risk. You understand? So IT failure, IT outage, of course. I'm trying to connect. At one point I went off, and it can be on a bigger scale. Imagine a situation where an organization has IT outage for a period of time where it begins to affect their services, affect customers. So these are things that we need to look into as auditors. We need to put our eyes on some of these risks. Data breaches, of course, fines and penalties, depending on this, some of these risks crystallize to the point where you might have to pay a fine or be penalized by your regulator and all that. So cyber security and data privacy cannot be overemphasized. Please, auditors, risk managers, compliance, internal control people in the room, please consider this. Now, secondly, we have legislation and regulatory changes. So in Nigeria, the changing regulatory landscape is a factor. You understand? 1 minute, this is allowed. The next minute, this is not allowed. You know, the thing with Nigeria is because of the speed of our judiciary, you cannot get it resolved immediately. You understand? You cannot get it resolved immediately. We had this issue. We currently have the issue with CBN and crypto. I don't want to go into details, but I'm sure you get the gist. CBN frowns on crypto, but outside Nigeria, crypto is a thing. So you have that disconnect. So you have a global organization that has a branch in Nigeria. But because of CBN policy on crypto, they cannot do crypto. While their branch in SA, South Africa, or America does crypto. So you see that disconnect. Lagos State and Gokada. 1 minute there was Gokada, the next minute Gokada is not allowed. So you see this disruption in your business just by one regulatory pronouncement by your regulator, just changes the dynamics of your business. So these are things that we need to pay attention to. These are things we need to pay focus to. And especially this, you need to collaborate with your legal team, your risk management team to sort of forecast what might happen. Understand? You want to do serious research when you're bringing out a product. Even your current products, you need to evaluate them and see that, okay, you want to put in a lot of resources into this, knowing that it's possible that 1 or 2 things might change down the line that might disrupt it. So these are conversations you really need to have. Okay, so third here is third-party management, volatility, supply chain disruption, and vendor solvency. So this third-party management has to do with organizations that leverage on other entities to carry out certain operations. So I remember sometime in the news earlier in the year, there's I call it a canal, some sort of canal between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, I think, where a vessel was carrying a lot of goods and it was blocked seriously, you understand? Also, third-party management can also be your cloud services, you understand? For a lot of us, it's Google services or AWS, that's Amazon Web Services, that we house some of our servers on. You understand? So you have to evaluate what your third-party management policies is. You also have to carry out like a review of your third-party vendor to be sure that they are good enough to not disrupt your business. And also, one of the things I like to talk about here also is like have a plan B. Forecast if an issue comes up. Do we have a plan B that it does not disrupt our business, that we can still go ahead and do our business? We had that issue a lot in my organization where we had to do with internet. The bank, we don't generate internet, we leverage on providers. So from time to time, we have disruption. So our IT guys had to have like there were concurrent internet providers at the same time, such that when one goes off, you can quickly switch to the second one, because you have, thank you very much, Henry. Suez Canal, exactly. Suez Canal. Yeah. So as I was saying about the internet, imagine an organization, imagine a digital bank that is riding solely on the internet and they have downtime. There's an issue. Not just even a digital bank, your normal organization, a bank, you have downtime and customers cannot do their business. You're at a dinner with your lovely date and it's time to pay the bill and you're trying to swipe your card and they tell you that your card is not working. Your card can be very embarrassing. And next thing the person goes online, goes to Twitter, and starts bashing your brand. Or what we're talking about, the culture audit. All those things are negative news. The way news spreads these days, and you don't want any of that. So please, third-party management, third-party policy review cannot be overemphasized. I hope you're having a good time. Please feel free to engage me in the chat box. so that it's more of a conversation, not just a one-way discussion. All right, so climate change, possibly the next crisis, So there's a lot of buzz on climate change at the moment, and I'm on the fence about it because most of the conversation is coming from the West. They want us Africans, they want a lot of developing countries to be pro-green. However, this Western organization, these developed countries use coal and use a lot of fossil fuels to develop your economy to where it is today. And all of a sudden, you're telling me that I should go green when I'm trying to develop using the same energy that you use. So, the conversation is not exactly balanced. However, doesn't mean that as auditors, we should not be aware of these things. Fine, scientists claim that there's going to be a crisis next. The earth is dying, there's a lot of carbon emission. Green is not, a lot of people are not going green as they should. Fine, we have the Elon Musk trying to come up with alternative powered vehicles and all that. However, it's going to take a while for developing nations to go green, but still, we need to have this conversation. You need to ensure that your operations, tilt towards green. As hate it or love it, but your operations need to tilt towards green. You need to have this conversation. You don't want a situation where, especially for us, for some of us that work in the industries, FMCGs or energy organizations, you need to have these conversations in management. So as auditors, you cannot just sit back and watch. You have to also participate. It's part of our evaluation. It's part of risk out there that you also have to consider in your evaluation. You understand? So you need to have conversations around the kind of machineries that the organization might be buying, the kind of partnership they are going into, because hate it or love it, the climate change discussion is out there. It's something we have to do about it. All right, so the next is fraud and exploitation of operational destruction. So, fraud is out there. A lot of things are going on at the moment. And every day we hear cases of fraudulent activities, people being caught, or scams going on here and there. At a point, there's a lot of fraud going on in the agri-tech space. A lot of people complaining about having their monies tied up there and all that. So as internal auditors, we need to be extra vigilant where organizations are putting their resources into. You understand? You need to work with the risk management team to carry out extensive due diligence, the kind of partnerships that your organization is going into. You need to carry out due diligence, because if something goes south, immediately, don't you have auditors in that organization? So, and that is external, relationships. You also have to look at your processes in-house. And like I always tell people, don't just focus on it will not happen to us. Take knowledge from other people's experiences. You understand? Always look at what your competition is doing. You need to read the news. If it happened in Brazil, it can happen in Lagos State. If it happened in Japan, it can happen in Port Harcourt. It's a function of process. It's a function of policy, maybe a policy gap. You understand? So you need to be thinking ahead. Please, please, please. Don't just focus on your organization. Look at what's happening out there. You see, if you are browsing and you hear news about a fraud, please go through it. There was this thing that happened with, I don't know if it's HSBC now, where they mistakenly transferred $600 million or pounds to a wrong beneficiary. It's crazy. Just please, if you have time after this conference, please browse it. 600 and something million was mistakenly transferred to the wrong beneficiary. You understand? That one, fine, you might call it negligence, but it can happen to anybody. can happen to anybody. So you need to constantly review your internal processes. Now, not just to prevent, okay, fine, fraud. Now, the second pointer here is also exploitation of operational disruption. Please, 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 tighten your loopholes, tighten your gaps, minimize disruptions, minimize disruptions. When there is disruption, it is a risk and it is an opportunity for people to exploit the system that may lead to fraud. As much as we are trying to drive efficiency, we are trying to reduce the number of approvals in the process so that it's fast, the organization is efficient, it's fast. Please, 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 risk managers, compliance people, auditors out there, everyone out there, please reduce disruptions. Disruptions create gaps that create risk that may be exploited and may lead to fraud or lead to negativity, that may have a negative impact to the organization. Please. Now, the final item here is business continuity risk. Business continuity plan and business resumption strategies are key areas of business continuity risk. So the business continuity risk here is that disruptions may come up that might affect the continuity of the business. It is what it is. Like I said earlier, please minimize disruption, because when you have disruptions, you're creating room for business continuity risk. There are certain organizations that have never come back from a fraud, that have gone south from there. There are certain organizations that have never come back from an operational disruption. Last year, a lot of organizations went down or severely negatively impacted due to COVID. They did not envisage it, and it came, and they did not go away. Please, I remember even before COVID, we carry out simulations in my organization to test business continuity. You have a situation whereby you carry out a stress test or you carry out an impact analysis to see if certain scenarios come up, how well will your business move through? How well will your business recover? How well will your business be able to continue? Carry out those scenario analysis, engage your risk management team, engage the internal audit unit. You understand? You need to know, because if you carry out this test in a safe environment where the test is not live, you can identify loopholes, you can identify risk, so you can come up with adequate controls. Please, there is no such thing as risk-free. Where I first heard risk-free was in strategic financial management in ICANN, and even risk-free has a risk attached to it. It's just that it's very, very controlled and very, very safe, but it is not risk-free. For instance, you have government bonds being identified as risk-free. If there is a government topple, like issues you have in certain African countries today, you realize that those bonds may not be safe. The junta or the militia government may not recognize those bonds. So there's really nothing as risk-free. You need to think of the business like you're a shareholder, like you're an owner. All right, thank you very much for staying tuned. I hope you're having a nice time. All right, so preparedness of internal audit on escalating risk. So this is just like a dashboard for you to know where you are. You need to be absolutely honest with yourself, honest with your team. Are you prepared? Internal audit has the capacity, tools, and methodology in place to address this risk. Check. Quite prepared. Some improvements needed in one or two of the areas. Not prepared. Improvement needed in most of the areas. Please, please, please carry out this self-assessment in your team, both risk managers and internal auditors talking to you. Please carry out this preparedness test to be sure that you're on point. And if there's any place that you're lacking, please, please, please gather up the necessary resources, engage the necessary team, and ensure that you are on point. All right. Okay, so this is just a cartoon I pulled up. So the auditor lady is talking to the process owner saying, having audited your accounts, you can't find anything at all suspicious, which makes us very suspicious. You understand? Situations where you go to, you carry out a review and you don't find any exception, and you're wondering that what's happening here. You understand? But it might just be a case of the team doing what they are supposed to do very well. So, rule of internal audit on emerging risk. So we have the first one, trusted advisor. Internal audit consistently guides management or the affected departments to address key risk areas and to improve the company's various initiatives. Consultant, internal audit periodically provides advice on how to address key risk areas as needed. Internal audit only when sought by management. So I'm going to throw a question out there. Please, I need your response. Which of these categories do you think the internal audit should find itself? Please, my time is running fast, so please, I would appreciate your response. So I asked which of these roles we as internal auditors, say risk managers, should, what bucket should we actually be in? All right, Jeffrey, thank you. Trusted advisor. Thank you for that response. All right, so let me move on. So, Henry, thanks a lot. So, we should not be on a need-to basis as ad hoc. No, fine. Consultants seems fair, but we actually have to be trusted advisors. We have to come into that space. We can't just sit on the sideline anymore. We have to come into that space and guide management, address key risk areas, coming up with strong recommendations to prevent any crystallization of risk that may have a negative impact on the organization. So organization reliance on internal audits is to provide insights on risks that matter and continue to increase. Internal audit functions are in the spotlight as stakeholders expect internal auditors to help deliver more strategic value. All right, so let me just run through this quickly. The time is as we try to wrap up. So the next generation of internal auditing, improve assurance by increasing the focus on key risk areas. We cannot overemphasize this. By evolving to become more data-enabled, next generation internal audit provides internal and external stakeholders with relevant and timely and impactful results on the effectiveness of risk management and controls. So we need to focus on key risk areas, and you need data in order to drive this. You cannot just phantom it or think it out of the blue. You need data, you need tech, you need IT to drive some of these things, to forecast some of these things. Secondly, make internal audit more efficient. Internal audit drives next generation internal audit drives toward data and technology enabled audit processes, delivering increased efficiency and risk assurance. Please, 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 there's no time to waste time. Please embrace technology, engage management if you need some software or some technology to help you carry out your function. It is for the benefit of the organization, is to add value to the organization. Enhance skill sets continually. Please, please, please go to the University of YouTube if you have any challenge. There are millions of resources out there. Go on LinkedIn, go on Coursera, if you need to take a particular course or lecture on a particular audit process that you don't understand, or a particular risk that you are trying to put up controls for, please enhance skill sets continually. Internal audit function seeks to continually advance their skills, both through upscaling staff and recruiting new skill sets and capabilities. If in your team, you don't have, there's particular skill sets you need, and some of these resources you cannot get it, please engage management and have them hire the person. You might need to hire an IT auditor if you need to carry out extensive and quality IT audit review. You understand me now? Provide deeper and more valuable insights from internal audit activities and processes. Please. Your recommendations should be strong. Next generation internal audit helps organizations make better decisions, not only by addressing and managing risk, but also eliminating the risk and unforeseen circumstances in their long-term digital transformation and growth strategies. Please, there needs to be a lot of collaboration with relevant units. We need to carry out strong audits so that we can come up with strong recommendations, identify strong risks so that the controls that can come up will be stronger. You cannot have absolute control. Risk must always exist. But if you carry out a strong and extensive review, you'll be able to identify a lot of these challenges and come up with strong recommendations. Please, I would encourage collaborations. Internal auditors like to, let me not go there. Please, I want to preach collaboration. You cannot do it alone. You don't know the process more than the process owner. You need to collaborate with the first line and second line of defenses, you being the third line. The information may come at you later. So if you are collaborating with the first and second line, it is only right that controls will be strong. Let's not approach audit as, as a war. It's just an activity to bring out the best for the organization. And also for non-auditors, please be receptive towards auditors. Just try to carry out their review. Some of them might come across as somehow, but please be receptive. Enjoy the review, enjoy the activity, appreciate the exceptions, discuss it, and together come up with strong controls to prevent a reoccurrence. All right, so this cartoon. So let's think of the internal auditor as your personal trainer. If you go to the gym, often carrying those weights, doing those exercises might be really tough, but at the end of the day, you appreciate the body that you have. You appreciate the results. Carrying those weights, lifting those weights, running on that treadmill might be difficult at the time, but at the end of the day, it's for the betterment of your body. So let's look at it in the organization like that. So the internal audit process might not be too nice, but the objective of the internal audit, you cannot argue with it. It's to add value to the organization. It's to improve organization's operation. So I hope you've had a lovely time. And how can you not love internal audit? Thank you. This comes to the end of my presentation. I really had an amazing time. If you have any questions or any comments or any observations, please share and we'll take it up from there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Faye, for that amazing presentation. Thank you so much. It was really educative. All right. Thank you so much for that educative and informative paper on current issues and emerging risks for internal audits. It was really insightful, right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So if you have questions, kindly make use of the chat box. The highlight for me was key risk to internal audit, especially third-party management. And I remember you also mentioned that we need to take knowledge from other people's experiences. We need to collaborate, and there is no such thing as risk-free. So please let us make use of the chat box to ask our questions. I'm waiting for your questions, and Feyi is prepared, fully prepared to answer all your questions. Okay, so Feyi, there is a question for you here from Jeffrey. It says, which software can you recommend for internal audits?
All right. So for internal audits, I know there are audit assisted softwares. Personally, we use Excel, and Excel is everybody's tool, but it might be specific to your organization. It might be specific to, there's one particular ACS, audit control software. There's one particular one. I'll get the particular name and I'll private chat you understand? But audit softwares are specific to the organization that you are currently working with, because like I said, different organizations have their different methodologies, different procedures. So you might need a bespoke one, the general one may not work for you. So yeah. Then how is climate change a risk to internal audit? So climate change is not a risk to internal audit. It's a risk to the organization where you are an internal auditor in. So what I'm trying to say there is we cannot shy away from the discussion of climate change, you understand? As an internal auditor, you need to review your processes, review your policies and procedures to tilt towards green. As much as I'm not, as much as I don't really like the way the Western countries are, pushing this whole climate change conversation for us in developing countries, we cannot shy away from the organization. Buhari just signed in a climate change act. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. So depending on your industry, if there's an internal auditor here that works in the energy firm, say Mobil or Chevron, as an internal auditor there, you have to start thinking climate change. How does this particular act or this law, how does it affect my organization? You understand? If you are working in an organization where you are flaring gas, for instance, as an internal auditor there, you want to review that particular unit, that particular department, that particular process. You understand? You don't want to be on the wrong side of the law. That's to that question. All right, thank you, Chima. There's ACL, yeah, I think that was what I was trying to remember. There's ACL, there are a lot of them, but you have to consider the cost. Some of these softwares are pretty expensive. So you want to do your cost benefit analysis and have that conversation with management. Take it up from there.
Thank you so much, Feyi Togan, for answering these questions so intelligently. Please, if you have questions, please keep them coming in. Someone says, thank you. Okay, Jeffrey says, thank you. Ubong says, great presentation.
Yeah,
well done.
Thank you, Ubong. Thank you, everyone.
Keep your questions coming in.
All right.
Do we have further questions? All right, you can also send your questions to seedstarsconsulting@gmail.com, or you send us a message on Instagram at seedstarsconsulting, or you call us after this program on 0803-632-4090. Okay. Our host says that the presentation is fantabulous. Thank you so much, Feyi Togan. Olubumi says,
thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. But please, it doesn't end here. The conversation keeps on going. Please, when you go to work on Monday next week, please let the energy be there. But like I said, we need to collaborate. You cannot do it alone. You need the engagement of other departments, other units, you understand, so that you can drive efficiency and improve operations in the organization. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Feyi. So moving on. Yeah. So right about now, I will be calling up Usuekon Joy, ACA, and she'll be taking us through the paper, Managing Changing Business Risk Profile. Managing Changing Business Risk Profile. Let me quickly run through her profile. Usuekon Joy has over 4 years experience in finance, internal control, internal audit, and risk management. She has a background in economics, and she's a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. She's currently the Treasury and Financial Control Accountant at Construction Kaiser Limited. Let us give a resounding Zoom welcome to Usuekon Joy ACA. It's nice to finally have you on board, Joy.
Oh, thank you, Chidima. Thank you so much. First, I'd like to apologize for the the network issues I had earlier. So first of all, I apologize to everyone. And I want to say thank you to Feyi. That was a beautiful and insightful presentation. And to the organizers, sisters, professionals, thank you. This is our second time, and it's a blast. Thank you so much. So I'll be speaking on managing changing business risks profile. So let's move on to the next slide. So I'll just run you through what I'll speak on. I'll speak on business risks itself and then business risk profile, business risk management process. I'll walk through a sample business risk profile, the strategies for treating risks, and management participation in changing business risk profile. So let's move on. So when you talk about business risks, what we are just saying is an event, a circumstance that could impair the business from meeting its goals and objectives. So that's simply what business risks is all about. And then for business risk profiling, it's a systematic approach. It's a risk management tool whereby you identify your risks and opportunities. You quantify them in terms of likelihood and measurement to control or eliminate them from the business. So when it comes to risk profiling, it's just a tool. It's a risk management strategy, one of the risk management strategy where you are looking at the business holistically. So you're not just looking at maybe a department or like a unit. It's more holistic. Like you're looking at the enterprise as a whole, like enterprise, and then you're saying, okay, this risk profile say, okay, I'm identifying my risks and I can also identify my opportunities and gain advantage on them. So you can say that in recent times, especially due to the COVID, it will not be fair to any organization if their risk profile is not changing, if there is not change to it. Take for example, some companies have had to change their products. They've had to like make inclusion. They've had to like change their services because the needs have changed. The customer behavior has changed. Employees' behavior has changed. You know, I was speaking to a human resource personnel who happens to be a risk process owner of a department, and I said to her, I said, for employee turnover, your risk description now has changed because it's not just about staff now moving from a Nigerian company to a Nigerian company. You are looking at staff leaving from a from a Nigerian company to a foreign company, because with this event of the COVID-19, the wars and technology has made it that people can easily work from home, get foreign jobs. So for employee turnover, it's the cost is now, it's not just limited that, are looking at moving from a Nigerian company. No, the risk now is higher. You have to look within. Okay, what are they offering outside there? What can I give? So we had that discussion and then we laugh over it. And I thought that everybody now is moving to Canada. So it's bigger than you think. So if the risk profile is still same, it's going to be really worrisome. So risk profiling is just saying, okay, it's an organization, it's a way organization is saying, I'm identifying my risks and I'm identifying my opportunity, and this is the measurement, this is the impact, this is what it will look like, this is what we've put in place, and then after we've put a proposed treatment, what is going to be like. So that's really is simply what business risk profiling is, and what I've earlier explained what business risk is, and it's just simply say, okay, what is going to stop us from meeting up with our business goals and objectives. So we'll move on to the next slide. So, okay, yeah, I just have this diagram here just says it all concerning business risk profile. So the first step in creating a business risk profile is you being able to identify your risks. So for every organization, when it comes to a business risk profile, like I said, it's enterprise wide. It's not just a unit thing. It is for most organizations, for each department, they always have like a risk process owner. That's what most organizations do. In my organization, I stand in for finance as a risk process owner. So what we do is, okay, as a unit. Hello?
I'm sorry, Scott.
So as a unit, I'm able to say, for finance, this is our identified risk, and this is our identified opportunity. These are the areas that we're able to say, okay, the business can gain competitive advantages from, and these are the risks that we feel like is a threat to our business. Then after that, you need to assess the risks to say, okay, what is the possibility of these risks occurring? So let's take, for example, let's say let's just speak, for example, an IT risk and say, okay, data compromise, which is what, and it's a sample that I use in my next slide. So we can say the likelihood of this thing happening is quite low because the organization has been able to put certain inherent controls. So this possibility of it happen is low. But what are the impacts if there's data compromise in the company, especially to sensitive operations? What could be the impact? Of course, you and I know that for when it comes to data and data theft, the impact could be quite high. So this is the point where you assess your risk. After identifying your risk, you just have to assess the risk. Then the next thing is to plan your response strategy. What do you want to do about this risk? Do you want to accept it? Do you want to transfer the risk? Do you want to reduce the risk? Or do you want to totally avoid? So I will give more light to that on another slide. Then you have to implement still go back. I'm still on the previous slide. So you have to implement. It's not just enough to say, oh, I've identified this risk and this is what I plan to do. I plan to transfer this risk. I plan to do A, B, C, D. So it's not just enough to do that. You have to implement. You have to say, okay, I'm implementing this that I've identified, and then you monitor your performance. So if I'm saying that I've identified data theft in the company as a risk, and I'm saying, okay, the controls that I've put in place is to increase my authorization level. So okay, there has to be password, they have to be this, and then it's okay, I'm going to monitor the progress. After implementing this, what has happened? So you have to also put your monitoring performance strategy in place. So this can be done through the internal audit or self-assessment. So most times the internal audit people come in place to say, okay, how effective is your control? Because they're like the last line of defense, as Faye has earlier mentioned. So as last line of defense, I come to say, okay, these controls that you've put in place, is it effective enough? Is it reducing the risks? Is it increasing? So that's where you have to monitor your performance. So next slide. I think I don't know how clear it is on your end, but this is a very please go back. So this is it's particle risk profile. I call this company X, so I don't want to mention any company's name. So this is company X. This is what their risk profile looks like. And said, okay, what are the issues? The first thing, say, what are your issues? Say data compromise. What is your risk description? Cyber theft, unauthorized access, accidental disclosure, and employee negligence. So this is your risk description. Who are the risk owner, head of information system? What type of risks is this? Science, okay, we have operational risks, we have strategic risks, we have financial risks. So what type of risk is this? You're saying it's an IT risk. What you've identified, is it a threat on an opportunity? Like I said, your business profile is not just going to talk about the negativity. It can also talk about positive risks, because a business can have a positive risk to say, okay, I would, by doing this, I will gain a competitive advantage. If you look at, let's say, let's go to the social media world. When TikTok came up and it blew during the COVID-19, other applications such as Instagram tried to implement such features into their business using Reels. I'm sure most of you might be familiar with it, using Reels. So that's also an opportunity. So this this business profile doesn't just address your risks, but it also addresses opportunities that can come. So for this one that we've identified, practically we said is a threat, so there's no opportunity statement for it. And then who identified these risks? Said information system, date identified. So probably they had a meeting and that was the date identified the risks, or they had a practical like data breach in the company. Now, so what's the probability of this happening? Like I said, the probability would depend on the inherent controls that you have in place. So for this company, as you can see, they already have an existing control, which is the use of password and code. So the probability of this occurring might be 3. If it occurs, let's say for a banking, for a bank now, if they have a data breach, you can imagine how high the impact would be, because their services are financial services. So it's going to be a big impact. So if you're looking for looking at a bank, the impact might be looking at maybe 5, we're looking at 8, 10. But for a company like mine with limited, or the sensitivity of our information is not so high, the impact might be not as high as those in the bank. So after this, okay, this is the possibility and this is the impact. So that's where the organization will have the risk matrix. So I don't really want to go so deep into it. So your risk matrix will tell you that what's your probability is and what your likelihood. At the end of the day, when you have a figure, you're able to say if it's high or if it's low. So for example, after saying probability of this occurring is 3 and the impact is 5, my expected risk value was 15. If I go to my risk matrix, this is high. This is high for my organization. And like I said, you've identified the existing control, which is the use of password. Now, what are your proposed plan? Do you want to eliminate, oh, we're not going to use any IT infrastructure in the company, we totally want to avoid this risk? No, it's not possible to avoid this risk. So we are accepting this risk to say, okay, we accept that this risk will be in play, but how can we mitigate this risk and reduce it? So we are going to ensure authorized access to sensitive information. So if you had maybe 1 level authorized system before, you're increasing it to 2 or 3. So it's just like, say, a banking approval. If I'm having just one person having an access to make payment, I'm saying for control process, I'm increasing this to 3 to 4. So this is your proposed plan. So when you plan, the next is to put a timeline. You have to put a timeline to whatever proposed plan and action you plan to do, because risk is like a wildfire. You have to be smart about it. You have to be swift about taking your decision, especially when it's a high risk. So putting your deadline, that's okay. How do you want to monitor? You know, the earlier said, okay, you have to monitor your plan. Said, okay, these people are saying, this company is saying they're going to have a weekly review for control breach. After putting in place that weekly review, we're coming back to say what has happened. After the IT has been doing its weekly review of control breach, what has happened? Say my risks has become low, which is the residual risk level. Residual risk level that after you put in place what you're supposed to, what is the risk looking like? Is it still high? Is it still low? So it helps in decision making. That's business business profile helps in a lot of ways. It helps the management be able to take decision. Like I said, it's an effective tool in risk management. So you can add up a status and say, this has been done, and just write up any type of status. So this is a practical example of what a risk profile is. So I don't know if there's any question at this point. If anybody has any question before I move further. So, okay, there's no question. So I'll just move on to the next slide. This is going to be brief. So what are your strategies for treating risks? I've earlier said this before. It's either you're avoiding, you are accepting, you're reducing, or you're transferring these risks. So avoid these risks. You are simply eliminating these risks and say, okay, whatever we're doing now, let's say you have a product out there and you've identified the risks that comes with this product. You've identified the risks that comes with this product. Okay, I'm totally eliminating these risks. Maybe there's a health and safety issue that comes with this product. To say, okay, I don't want the market to have this product, and I'm totally eliminating it. So in that way, you are avoiding the risks. You don't want anything to do with that. You can also reduce your risks by putting additional controls in place to say, okay, I'm doing this, and this will probably reduce my risk. You can accept the risks, and most times when people accept the risks, most organizations, when they accept the risks, is when they've looked at the probability. You've said, my probability and the impact, my expected value, risk value for this risk is low. That is where most organizations accept a certain risk, except the risk appetite of the organization is quite high, and they can go with, oh, I know my expected risk value is high, but I'm still going to accept it. So most times it depends on the risk appetite of the organization and the management. The fourth one is you can transfer your risks. You can say third-party management, just as he has already said. You can say, okay, I need a partner. I'm going into a business partnership for somebody else to manage these aspects for me. You just take, for example, the eNaira. I'm yet to confirm this, so I don't really know how true it is. So when we're having a discussion about how robust the IT infrastructure will look like to manage the eNaira, and someone said, oh, there's a company that is going to be managing that for CBN. So what CBN has done is to say, okay, this risks regarding the IT infrastructure, I'm pushing it out to somebody else. So through partnership, through insurance, you can also transfer your risks. I say, oh, I bought this asset. There's a risk of theft. There's a risk of warehouse. So I'll say, okay, insurance company come in, and if anything happens to this item, this asset, I'm transferring this risk to you. So these are some of the ways that you can use to treat your risks. So the next slide. So this is management involvement, management participation. Like I said, every business is, especially at this time of new emerging risks, the risk profiles are changing, both for opportunities, both for threats. So the risk profiles are changing generally. And one of the things that we feel that the management can do is to wake up early. Look at your risk management framework, review it. Does this does this incorporate, is it still holistic? Does it still fit the business? You know, some people, their risk management framework, the risk type they have now, you need to include more. You need to include, make more risk inclusive to your risk type. Your risk reporting, do you want to review? Okay, most people say submit your risk uh, profile monthly. Do you want to change it to 2 weeks? Because you say, okay, we've identified that there's a need for us to make changes as fast. So you are looking at your risk profile, and you are making changes when necessary, and to make the business what effective. Then you're looking at people. Some would say culture will eat up strategy. So it's not enough to just put out your risk templates, what you want to do, but people matter a lot to risk management. It is people that will drive down the culture. And of course, we always suggested that this will start from the top below. So you have to look for people that are competent. The management have to drive the risk culture. This is one of the ways that you can manage the changing business risk profile. So look for people that are competent to handle your business, drive a risk culture. So if the management is careless about the risk, you can imagine what those beneath would do, subordinates would do. So most time you have people that if the risk culture is inclusive in an organization, even down to the security, they are aware. The risk awareness is there, and they can easily spot on things and say, okay, this is it, this is what is going on, this is what this is what is going on. Let us quickly put a stop to it. I used to read a story of how Lyft was invented, that the suggestion came from its security. So you can imagine, it's inclusive. Risk culture has to be driven by people in an organization. So you need to look at people management carefully. Then also your processes. If you need to change your controls, there needs to be this holistic look in managing your business, your changing your business profile. I was looking at our strategy for finance, and I saw that most of the things we have now, we had in that SOP. It can't work. We work, half of our 50% of the staff work remotely. There's been software change. So things like this, you need to look at your process, your SOP. If you need to review it, you need to review it as soon as possible. So this, I think we've had to, like in my organization, we've had to change. This is across all units. We've had to change the SOPs, because we know the management knows that there's been changes. The COVID-19 has affected a lot of things. The processes have changed. How do we make it better? So if you need to make changes to your processes, the management has to act fast on that. Lastly, I'll talk of tools and techniques. The technology is improving day by day. So what the management needs to do is to open their mind towards technology, towards the changes that comes with it. So it can be frustrating if most of the risk monitoring has to be done manually. Can imagine if you can use an Excel tool or a software to just, okay, this is my proposed plan, and then you can say this is the technology. Somebody can easily go there and see and monitor the performance through data visualization, and data analysis. So the management also needs to embrace the change that comes with technology. So these are my views on how management participation can come in with a business risk profile. So next slide. So that will be all for now. I hope you learned something. So I'll just end this with this quote that says, risks are opportunity are two sides of the same coin. Thank you very much. Chidima, you can take it up from here.
Thank you so much, Second Joy, for that amazing presentation. Princess Egwabo, are you here?
Oh, yes, please, right on time, right on time. That was really inciting. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you for knowledge, for impacting us. Current issues and emerging trend and emerging rates for internal audit was the first talk we had. And now we just looked at managing changing business risks profile. We have some questions in the chat box, and I'll just relate them to our facilitator, one after the other. Please, each participant is free to keep dropping messages on the chat box. All questions will be attended to. Okay, first up here is from Olusola Oluwadare, and she's saying, is risk profile the same as risk register? Risk profile, can we equate it to risk register? Over to you, Ma.
Okay, thank you for that question. So risk register is let me say it's more, it looks like it, but like I said, risk register can be particular to a particular department. I can say finance risk register, I can say HR risk register, but when it becomes an enterprise wide register, that's when you're talking about business profile. So it has to be holistic. So it's not just your own departmental risk register that you're keeping. So it has to just be holistic. So that's it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much for that clarity. I have a question for you. While we expect more questions in the chat room.
If I'm safe.
Okay, so I've heard of risks, I've heard of exposure, and I've heard of risk exposure. I don't know if there's a difference between them or they can be used interchangeably.
I didn't get your question. You said risk exposure and...
Yes, exposure, risks, and risk exposure. I don't know if there are different terminologies but mean the same thing. Can we say our exposure is our risk, or what we're exposed to is risky, or risk exposure itself is also the same thing as risks? Because from what you explained, you said business risks is just anything that will just hit us, that would interrupt our achieving our organization's set goals and objectives. So is it the exposure, the maybe downsides in the environment, whatsoever trend, whatsoever comes up that we encounter, those I did the same thing with entire as
okay, if understanding your question is risk exposure, it's how do I explain this? So risk exposure is simply saying what am I exposed to? What am I exposed to? So it can differ for different people. It can differ for different people. I can say, I may be okay if I have a 10,000 naira in my account, I'm only exposed to a theft of 10,000 naira. I can't be exposed to a risk of theft of 20,000 because what I have is just 10,000 naira. But for somebody that has a 50,000 naira, I'm taking it really low so that it's clear. For somebody that has a 50,000 naira, that person is exposed to a theft risk of 50,000 naira. So that is a simple explanation of what risk exposure is about. So it differs for individuals and for organizations.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't think I've seen it in that perspective, right? It's really clear because what you are exposed to is the level of risk, attracts the level of risk.
Yeah.
Okay, Faye Togan is asking, how often should the risk assessment or evaluation be performed given that risk is dynamic and ever changing? Is there a level of frequency for performing a risk assessment? How often
Okay.
should the risk assessment and evaluation be performed given the dynamic and ever changing risks we have?
Okay. I think if I refer to my, I think the last slide when I talked about risk framework. So I think part of the risk framework is risk reporting, and that's where assessment comes into. Risk assessment comes into. So, like I said, the business needs to look at it and say, for example, we've been doing this risk assessment monthly. Based on what we've received, that's where the risk committee comes in and say, well, based on what we've received so far, I think monthly maybe it's not enough, quarterly is not enough, because we are having high risks as a whole in the organization. Do we need to look into this weekly? Do we need to look into this twice a month? So this comes as this is the appreciation of the management to what they see. So if the risk is quite if your risk profile the business is quite low, the assessment level might not be as much as for a company that their risk profile is high. But most times, most organizations do their risk assessment monthly.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's really clear. That's really clear. It's peculiar to the type of risks and the impact of the risks that faces the organization. So Henry N is asking, this who develops the department's risk register? Is it the department risk owner? Is it the department that's the risk owner or the company's risk manager? Who develops the risk register of the department?
Okay. For the risks, your risk register template. So it's usually provided by, if you have maybe a risk department, if you are fortunate to have a risk department in your company, most times this template is passed down from that department. So, okay, this is the template the organization is adopting for the risk register. After that, it is now the responsibility for each department to pick the risk owner. Usually, it's usually the head of department that is the risk owner. The process owner say, this is my process. As a finance team lead, as the head of the department, I own this process, and then I build my I now populate this template to say, okay, in this month, this is the risks we've identified in my department. So I'm saying this is what we've identified. This is our proposed plan. This is our monitoring strategy, and I'm submitting it to either the risk department or we will further take it up to the risk committee. So that is how it works. So the template is coming from your risk department, and then each department is populating that.
All right. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you.
We have one more question. We love you. We love you. We have one more question here. And okay, Olusola is asking, talking about ERM, that should be enterprise risk management. Is the responsibility of the risk manager to mitigate risk or the risk owner department? Who's saddled with the responsibility of mitigating risk? Risk manager or risk owner department?
It's everybody's responsibility. It is everybody's responsibility when it comes to risks in an organization. From top to low, it is everybody. Everybody owns it. Everybody has to drive that risk culture. Everybody has a say when it comes to risks. So if we are looking at a risk in, for example, in my department, and say, okay, this risk now, what holistically we look at it and say, what do you think about it? So everybody's involved. What is the proposed plan? Do you think we should do this? So we propose this plan, and they look at it from the top to say, okay, what should we do? So it is everybody's responsibility to drive the risk culture. That's my take on it. So everybody has to be involved in this practice in the organization. Everybody. So you just have to like have maybe a cluster and say, okay, my unit, my department, this is what this is our risk reporting, and this is it. But everybody has to be involved.
Right. Thank you so much for this beautiful and educative session. I mean,
Thank you.
risk is not something we can run away from. We've learned that there's nothing like being risk-free. There's no zero risk. And as the whole environment is evolving, we have to manage. We have to manage the changing business risk profile. I'm very grateful for this wonderful and insightful section.
Thank you.
Yes.
So please, everybody, just take what you've learned. If you need to review if your SOPs are still dusty there, please pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. There are things to change there. So please, everybody should look at it. You can propose it to your manager. Everybody is involved. Everybody's involved. So thank you.
All right. I'm sure we have our seatbelt fasting. I'm sure we've been having a very awesome ride on this Annual Risk Management Congress 2021. Here is the climax of today's Congress. It is a moment where we'll be having our esteemed convener expand our horizon of knowledge on a very sensitive topic, one we can't turn a blind eye to in this 21st century. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would love you to join me as we give a warm welcome to Ayomi Ladokun, ACA, as he walks us through on the topic, digital transformation and cybersecurity. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for that powerful welcome. And I believe you can hear me before I move on.
Yes, sir. We can loud and clear. We can hear you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much for staying tuned here. And to our speakers, that was nice. That was so wonderful. And from Faye and Joy, I need to, personally appreciate you guys for that wonderful, presentation. That was really nice. So I learned a lot from your presentation, and maybe in the course of my analysis, I'll also refer to some of your comments. That was so wonderful. So without wasting time, so that we can really manage our time, this is the second edition of Risk Managers Congress, and it's been amazing. And this year's theme talks about risk, emerging trends, of course, cyber security. So we've been talking about risk all along, and of course, emerging trend as well. So, and I have something to also show us before we end the program today. I'm sure you've heard about me already, and we have our instruction as well that has been taken care of. So I'll be talking around digital transformation and cyber security. And I know we are quite familiar with this, but what are the issues that we need to spotlight on digital transformation and cyber security? Because of time, I won't really go deep into this subject matter, but obviously I'll just try to show some stuff that we need to be aware of personally, and how does it also really, affect our company or our business, so to speak. And it's going to be really nice if we can, stay back or stay tuned to really say a lot of stuff. So we don't really need to be an IT person, and like Fia has shown us, the cyberspace is really taking up audit role, terms of robotic process automation, what's it called, robotic and artificial intelligence and all of that. So this is an area that we need to be conversant with how we really, go about that. So I will see what digital transformation really means. Now, digital transformation is a process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes, culture, and of course, customer experiences to meet changing business and market requirements. So as you can see from what we have been discussing, things are really changing. And companies that decide to sit in yesterday's achievement, they might have to pay for that, okay? So we really need to be aware of all those processes that we need to automate, okay? And we need to really leverage on digital technologies to create or modify our existing, business processes. For example, how are we able to, carry out this activity tonight? We leverage on technology. That's Zoom, right? So everybody can, probably watch from wherever you have, provided we have a stable, internet and all of that. So, so it's quite important that we are aware of, what digital transformation really is. So when you have a particular business process, you're trying to leverage on technology, to actually improve our customer experience, or you're trying to meet changing business and of course, market requirements. So you say that is digital transformation. Then that we also talk about reimaging your business in the digital age is also known as digital transformation. So let me quickly take us through what is digitalization, and digital transformation. When you talk about digitization, it's the move from analog to digital. For example, your company is using manual process, that's analog. Most of your transactions are paper-based, but now you're trying to automate them by going digital. And you start using computers, laptops, Excel softwares, and all of that. So you say that is digitization. That's the process of converting information from analog, to digital. And I think in recent times, you also, see companies trying to do what we call, what they call it, SharePoint, okay, or trying to do archiving online instead of having, paper archive, so those are, digitization. Then you have digitalization, that's using digital data. You're already on the digital space, okay? So what is now digitization? You're already there. Then when you now try to use those digital data to simplify how you work, okay? Just like he told us, as internal auditors, even risk managers, we really need to embrace technology so that we can really simplify our work. So that's digitalization. That's a process of using digitalized information to make established ways of working simpler and more efficient, okay? For example, maybe your company operates in an online marketing, you have an online platform where you display your goods or what you are selling, what type of digital space do you have in place when, customer place order that is going to alert you, or that is going to be auto response? I think I see that on WhatsApp, for example. You have a business WhatsApp, once someone sends message, that is an auto response. So you're trying to make, the way you work more simpler. That's digitalization. And digital transformation is trying to add value to every customer's interaction. You know, so someone said, digital transformation starts and ends with customer. You know, you're trying to improve your customer's experience when they log on to your app, when they log on to your website, when they log on to whatever digital technologies you are using. What are the experiences? How do they feel about it? You know, are you really adding value to them? So you're trying to take advantage of available technologies to inform how a business runs. And you know, in this world, like Joy has told us, we can't really run away from technology. Okay, so if you're trying to run away, you can't say because there's going to be a risk of data theft, you know, and I don't want to do technology again. It's not really possible in this present age. All you need to do is to identify, you know, all those risks there and try to, mitigate them. Okay, so you should be able to know the differences around those three. Now, this is a digital risk framework by OECD. So they talk about digital by design. It could be data driven, government as a platform, open by default, user driven, and proactiveness. So this is just a framework that you might want to, you know, read more about from the OECD on what we call digital risk framework. Now, how do we really manage risk in digital transformation? So obviously, because like a very intelligent question that Princess asked the other time, risk exposure, and exposure itself. I was just smiling here. What an intelligent question, you know. How do we really manage risk, you know, in digital transformation? So we already know that once you operate on a platform known as technology, you're exposed. If I'm not on any technology, I am not exposed, but there's a risk there. So that's different, right? Okay, so because I have app or I have software, I use digital technologies to run my business. Even personally, you have phones, you have laptops, okay? So there are a number of risks that is identifiable to those transformations. So how do we really manage them? If you're able to understand the risk areas that are critical, you know, to identifying and dealing with them is quite important to organization, you know, based on what we're exposed to when it comes to digital environment. So I'm going to try to use this session to explain briefly all the risk areas, you know, within the framework of digital space. So the first one is going to be, you know, technology, okay? And like we said, or we have established, businesses are really sitting on technology. Look at, I picked up a comment from his presentation where he said there's now an expanded work environment, you know, where people can work from home, you can even work from anywhere inside the bus, and you know, and companies' data are really exposed, and you know, so we are sitting on technology actually, and there's a potential loss due to technology failure or obsolete technology. Now, this is a serious issue for organization. What does that mean? It means that, you know, the technology we relied on today, by tomorrow, it could be obsolete. You could see what is changing in the digital world, for example, phones, accessories, you know, software, a lot of things are really changing. So technology-related risk is going to have impact on systems. How do you interact on people, you know, and how will it really affect people? You need to learn, you know, you need to be technology savvy, all right? Processes, okay? If you have a slow process, how do you respond to customers on time? It becomes a real issue, okay? And the key risk will now include, you know, scalability, flexibility, even compatibility of those systems. Remember, someone was asking, you know, about software for internal audits, like audit command language. And the response was from the has to be that you have to look at your business requirements So how do we really, scale around the compatibility of those technology that is, really going to be suitable for your business, even on a personal level as well, okay? And accuracy or functionality of the implemented technology. So it won't really make sense to invest a lot of money in technology. And of course, you can't really use it, or it's not compatible with your business processes, and you need to, go and change it. So as risk managers, these are the issues we need to raise to our management. These are the issues we need to raise to the companies to say, okay, fine, we want to go into technology, try to do what we call risk assessment. There's something we also call change management process that I try to do before, leveraging or trying to invest on those technologies. So remember, the driver of technology risk has to be digital transformation, okay? Now you also think about cyber. We can't really do away with this. And of course, I'm still going to talk about cyber security, right? This has to be protecting, the digital environment from unauthorized access, okay? And ensuring confidentiality, this is quite interesting, and we really need to be aware of data protection regulation in Nigeria, for example, and how does it really affect business, okay? And what about integrity of those technology on the cyberspace you are working on? So we need to be aware of this. Now, what we can do can be, network architecture. We make sure they are very strong. Application security controls. We look at vulnerability management and security monitoring. So I'm not an IT person actually, but I know quite a lot of this because I've performed, IT audit for so many years, or for some years, and I also do IT risk assessment. So that's why I'm quite conversant on this area. And like we have established, businesses are sitting on technology. So as auditors, compliance persons, and of course risk managers, we need to be aware of that. Then strategic. These are also risks, and I'm quite interested in strategy because a strategy that works for us yesterday may not work today. Look at COVID-19, for example. That's really affected a lot of businesses. A lot of business cannot recover. A lot of business has to go into technology or digital transformation, overnight. What they have a 10-year plan for, because of COVID and all of that. Now look at Zoom, for example. How many people really know that Zoom exists, and COVID happened, and they have to come to the limelight. So you have to also be, identify strategic risk when it comes to digital transformation, right? So usually you have to drive this from organizational goals and objectives. Even for the company itself, strategies can change. The board can wake up one day and say, no, we are not going towards this direction again. This is what we want to do now. How does it affect your business processes, your technology, and and all of that? And remember, your technology or your digital space must support your business objectives. Okay, so these are things that we need to be aware of. Then look at our operations as well, an event or internal or external that impact on organization's ability to achieve the business objective through its defined operation. So you agree with me to say that once your processes are digitalized, that could be interruptions, to those operations. For example, if you use app, to for your customer to access your services, for example, there could be downtime, like you mentioned earlier. There could be sabotage, your app can be hacked and all of that. And I need to say this to say, when you operate on some of these apps, for example, let's say Taxify, let's say Uber, and even IG, sometimes we are doing sponsored ad. I want to advise that you don't leave your, what's it called? Your ATM details, on those platforms. Some people will say for future use, and your ATM number is stored on those platforms. It's quite risky. And in case those apps are being hacked, then you might be exposed to, risk of, all your funds might go overnight, in your bank account. So, but on the operational level for a business, you also need to identify to say that, okay, what if this software goes down? That's downtime. And I spotted something recently. I noticed that whenever in my company, for example, we experience internet downtime, we can't do anything. Like seriously, we cannot do anything. Even Excel, we can't work on it. Do you know why? We now operate on the cloud, all right? So all the files are sitting on the cloud, and cloud requires 24 hours internet. So what it means is, if I don't have internet, I cannot access my files. Then I cannot work. These are issues that we really need to identify and, bring to the board. So there's no time. I can't really go much deeper because I don't want us to exceed the hour mark of 10. Then another risk is data leakage. And this is quite interesting. Now you can imagine your server is being attacked or your network, because your network security is quite weak. And, data is leaked. You see employment records, medical records, personal information, these are issues that we need to be aware of. So we need to ensure protection of data. In fact, in some companies, they have to appoint a data protection officer. Okay, so, and in Nigeria recently, there is a data protection regulation, like I mentioned earlier. And so within the ecosystem of digital space, we need to be aware that data security is very important. So how do we, really prevent this from, unauthorized, user? So we need to, as compliance people, auditors, we need to really review this and make strong recommendations. So I love that word that he is saying, strong recommendations to management, on all of this. Okay. Now, third party, you could see the relationship here. You see, he also, mentioned this. This is really interesting. So you have a third party having access to your system. Okay. For example, one of the things we did in our company is when third party, you have third party, you have vendors, you have IT vendors, what we do is that when you want to operate on our server, we don't allow them to operate on live server. Anything they want to do, they have to do it on test server, okay? And that's a risk mitigation efforts, so that they don't go and tamper with live server that will disrupt company's operation. So just like Joy also mentioned, you can imagine a bank, for example, having an interruption or from a third party. You can imagine, even you that doesn't have a bank account in that company, next on Monday, you go there, you tell them that you have 5 million in this bank, okay? Right, because they have been exposed to an attack that someone that has 2,000 in that account is now showing 2 million because of malfunctioning and all of that. So we need to look at third-party risk management, and try to improve on their level of exposure or access to our company's, information or data. Okay, so this is really interesting. And you also need to do what we call vendor resiliency. What if a vendor is not forthcoming? You have a backup plan. All right. So these are quality information, or that forms part of our audit reports, risk reports, compliance reports, as the case may be, to executive manager, and you are really adding values, to the company. All right. And what about privacy? Data privacy is quite, interesting, just like the data protection we've been talking about. There's a risk here due to inappropriate handling of personal and sensitive personal data of customer, of employee. In fact, if care is not taken, if there is a data breach, that company can be sued. It's a serious issue here. Okay, so we need to be aware. So controls could be around, consent before if you need to, there are some circumstances where you might need to divulge those information. You have to see their consent, the accuracy and other privacy principles. So most likely, maybe your risk policy or you can have a separate document that talks about privacy policy that you need to really put in place to ensure that this is really managed. Now, forensics, because of the digital environment, there will always be fraud as well, okay? And so you need to ensure that your digital environment has a capability to enable investigation in the event of a fraud or security breaches, all right? Including capturing of data evidences, which is presentable in a law court. So if you are developing a product around digital space, for example, you need to be sure is there going to be an audit trail, people that tries to, defraud customers or even the company, so that you can have those evidences presentable in law in the court of law. So, like Fia said earlier, this involves collaboration, okay? And this may be new to us. Some of us might be doing this already, but as risk people or risk persons or auditors, for us to remain relevant, we need to be very vast. We need to be ahead, at least a step ahead of the company, okay? So that's quite interesting. Now, look at regulatory as well. I think you also mentioned this, if you remember. Things are fast changing. What is allowed yesterday is no longer allowed today, and this is quite worrisome, especially for highly regulated industry, like the banks, like insurance, like even pharmaceutical business, sorry, the oil and gas, you see, we need to keep thinking, ahead to say, what are the regulatory requirements or what are the changing landscape when it comes to regulation? So, like, for example, I think I was holding a training some years ago, and during that training, I just said, the government can place ban on codeine. I just mentioned in that training. And somebody picked it up with me, said, it's not possible. I said, why? And the person said, government gave us the approval to import codeine. And codeine is a substance in Mercedes syrup, or, that is used for children, to remove cough. It's quite very powerful and it's highly regulated. And I said, well, I'm a risk person actually. And the government that gave the approval, I can say they are not giving it again. That's what I just said. And 2 weeks down the line, there was a ban on importation of codeine in Nigeria to date. And that was about 3 years ago. I mentioned it. You see, things, and because of that, there are like serious implications. What it means is the product in the market automatically becomes contraband, right? Those in the warehouse, you can't sell them. Those already in the production line, they are outdated. It's as simple as that, just because of the regulation. So these are the things that keeps changing. That's why I quite agree with you. We need to really collaborate. And that's the sense of this Congress, so that we can really discuss all these issues and take it back to our company and we can really add value, okay? Then we also need to have what we call resilience. So we don't allow turbulence, to overcome us. Just like COVID-19, for example, a lot of companies just surrendered and it went on. But some companies were able to respond, probably because they've been doing risk management before, or they just have to come up with strategy, to respond to COVID-19 pandemic. So there's always risk of a disruption in operations, unavailability of services due to high dependency, on telecoupled technology. So here, to look at your network, disaster, cyber resilience, crisis management. Even in some companies, they have what we call crisis management policy. Okay, in the case of a crisis, what do we do? Okay, so what risk is going to teach us is we don't wait until those events has happened, because that's reactive, but we try to think ahead, being proactive, and we have plans in place so that even if they happen, the impact will not be that severe. And this is showing us digital risk portfolio, okay? I'm not going to really dwell on this. Maybe when you have the slide, you can, probably take a look at that. So you have digital risk strategy, you have the cloud, you have the blockchain, you have digital digitalization of risk management, AI. You could see the similarities from what Faye has really told us. And you have digital payment, Internet of Things, robotic process, or automation. Remember, we are talking about digitalization. So all these things are affecting those landscapes. Okay, so let me now quickly go to cyber security. Okay, and even if our company, whether we like it or not, we are in the cyberspace. Once you use a software, once your business is internet driven, okay, so you're already on the cyberspace. So the challenge has always been how secure our cyberspace are, okay? So it's really a challenge. In fact, for the board, is a concern for them. Apart from financial risk, okay? The next thing on the agenda of the board is cyber security. You can imagine there's an attack, you cannot work. Okay, so let me move on. And I want to engage you guys a little bit. Can you look at these headlines? What do you think is appearing the most from these headlines? I want you to go to the chat room and tell me, what do you think? Just look at those headlines, a couple of newspapers there. So what do you think is appearing the most? Okay, so what do you think? Just type it, one word. What do you think is appearing the most? Oh, okay, yeah. Faye is saying even cybersecurity, cyber risk can lead to each financial risk. That's brilliant. Yeah, of course. There was a company, I can't remember their name now. There was an attack on their cyberspace, and they have to recover. They spent 350 million to recover. Thank you for your responses. Cyber is very, is quite common here. Can you see? India lost $8 billion to cyber crime. Did you see that? Robbed by cyber hackers. Talk hackers demand new cyber ransom. You see, so this is not something, we just sit down and start cooking from the air. These are real life issues, that is happening. Okay, and as auditors, as risk managers, in fact, we need to be aware. And like Faye has mentioned, I won't be surprised that even before the board will think about financial risk, they're already thinking about cybersecurity. Because if there is a serious attack, you can imagine what will be exposed. What's it called? Customers' information, shareholders' information, the company's records, financial records, they are all exposed. And if you cannot recover, what happens? Okay, so let me move on because of time. Now, must know. Let me just show us some cyber security statistics. Now, why? One of the reasons. Thank you for your responses. Thank you so much. One of the reasons why we really need to, take cognizance of this is, it's not about where we work alone currently. In the future, we might decide to start business, our personal businesses, and you are thinking of, automating your business, going by trying to transform your business, digital transformation and all of that. Then, when you are aware about, you are conversant with this risk, it's going to really help you. Now, there's no business you want to do today, you just have to sit on technology, okay? Except you don't want to grow. How do you even reach out to customers, okay? Now, look at, let me just pick one or two bullets here. Bullet one, business travelers lost more than 16,000 laptops weekly. Did you see that? Now, the question that comes to my mind is, why are these people stealing laptops? What are they looking for? Do you think they just want to go and sell your laptops? They want to access your data, okay? Your ATM information, medical records, bank information, where you work. That's why you see, what's it called, attacks on people. They know the address of people. So I still wonder why people will go on on all these social media platforms and put their house address there? I don't understand. Okay, so if business travelers around the world can lose 16,000 laptops weekly, so those people that are stealing or that are stealing those laptops, do you think they just want to go and sell them? No. Now look at bullet 2. Worldwide spending on cybersecurity is going to reach about $133 billion in 2022. Now this is a serious scenario. Okay, so businesses have to be cybersecurity conscious. Now, look at bullet 3. About half of all business travelers said their laptops contained confidential information that did not take steps to protect or secure. Did you see the issue? Now, look at the expanded work environment that Fiyi mentioned earlier. People can now work from anywhere, which has further exposed companies' information to unauthorized access. Now, these are serious issues. And that's why, as internal auditors or risk managers, we need to really assess this risk and try to come up with strong controls, earlier. So let me just move on because of time. Let me move to, okay, let me just pick one or two things here. Hackers attack every 39 seconds. On the average, 2244 times in a day. That means, I think someone asked a question the other time that how many times, what was the frequency of, making risk assessments, it is every time. If you do it monthly, probably because those risks are very low. But when it comes to cyber, for example, let me give you a classical example. November 20, is it November, we're in 2021, right? Yeah, November 2020, around November 2020, there was a message from Microsoft that they are not going to support Windows 7 again. Now, that was in November 2020, that they're not going to support. That means there's not going to be update for Windows 7. Now, but before I move on, let me quickly say this. Some of you that is the Google Play Store now, we come up with updates. And because of data, I don't want to update it. You are doing yourself, seriously. You are doing yourself. The essence of those updates, for example, maybe your Bible app is updating. You're like, what are they updating in the Bible? Are they changing the Bible? No, it's security features that they are improving on. And that's why you need to update them, okay? Now, November 2020, Microsoft sent a message that they are not going to support Windows 7. So that means if your company is using Windows 7, from that time or from that day onward, you'll be exposed to attack because, normally every company will have a server that is dedicated to updates. They call it update server, all right? It's going to put patches from the internet and distribute to all systems in the company that are connected to the network, all right? Now, if a system is now using Windows 7, that means from January 2021, that system is going to be attacked, and it happened. I know about 3 companies that were attacked with this, what is it called? This virus, WannaCry. Go and Google it. Type WannaCry on Google. You see it. They were attacked, even some banks. Why? Because some of their systems were still using Windows 7, and because there was no update on Windows 7 again, that system got the virus from the internet. Once you are connected to the internet, you are exposed already. You are highly exposed. So those systems got the the virus, and because the system is connected to the company's network, and that's how the server was attacked. And they now said before they can release it, you have to pay a ransom of this. And that's exactly what he is saying. The cyber attack can lead to huge financial pressure. Okay, and that's why if cyber risk will continue to be a very high risk area, because as they are coming up with one control, another breach is coming. So that's why you need to keep improving on it too. For me, for cyber risk assessment, it's an ongoing process. If you can do it every day, that's fine. Make sure you're attentive. Look at what is going on around the world. What is Microsoft saying? If you are using Teams, Office 365, what are they saying? So that you are aware. If your business is sitting on cloud, then you need to be sure that your internet can be reliable. Otherwise, you are going to be faced with a lot of downtime. Okay. And okay, let me just move on because of time. So now, what is cyber security itself? So I just want to use that to tell us that there's much to do as auditors or as risk people when it comes to cyber security. So that's a practice of defending computers, servers, mobile devices. Did you see that? Okay, so it's not really peculiar, to our companies alone. Electronic system, networks, and data from malicious attack. All right. Now look at what we saw earlier. Every 39 seconds, we have two types of hackers. We have the black hackers and the white hackers. The white hackers are those people that tries to penetrate into your system. That's why you can also recommend that there should be, penetration testing. They try to hack into your system to see where they will be successful. Those are the white hackers. But the black hackers, they are the ones sitting behind the scene. You can't see them. They're trying to see, a vulnerability they can explore and hack your system. And of course, they are going to hold your business into ransom, all right? So when you now say cybersecurity, you're not trying to say how you can defend your servers, your computers, your electronic systems, from malicious attack. So it is known as information technology security or electronic information security. So this is quite important, right? And what are the reasons for cyber risk or cyber security risk? Why? COVID-19, for example, has fueled it. We have it before, but you see some messages on WhatsApp. Click on this link. Federal government is doing giveaway. How now? These are the work of hackers, right? And the moment you click on it, all your information are exposed already. Remember, most of these what's it called, app that you download, you'll be asking you, have access to your contacts, have access to your picture, have access to this, have access to that. All you'll be clicking yes, allow. You are doing yourself. Okay, so you need to be, and by the time you click on those links, all of those ones that you said have access, they automatically sees it. Do you know that if you go to the airport, for example, and you are using public Wi-Fi there, if that public Wi-Fi is already coded, someone else can be seeing everything you are doing on your system. Okay, so we need to be so conscious of. That's why if your company has a laptop policy, for example, where they give maybe some set of people or key managers, laptops that they can take home, there should be a review, on that. For example, now, in my company, I'm still fighting with my, IT people that you need to discourage people from using public Wi-Fi because people can work from home then or remotely, so to speak. In fact, I'm even recommending to the board to discontinue people working from home because, no, they can work from home actually, but I'm saying they should stop remote connection, okay? There are two different things actually. So because of the level of exposure, so somebody can be somewhere and be working on the accounting software of a company. That's a serious issue, right? So new technologies, for example, mobile devices and application virtualization, cloud-based technology, remote access data, multi-location workflows, Internet of Things. So that are the reasons for cybersecurity, okay? Risk as it were. So, and that's exactly what we need to understand. So what are categories of cybersecurity? We have network security, and that's the process of securing the computer network from intruders, whether targeted attackers or opportunistic malware. Okay, so you look at your for example, you can do a review of your network security. What is your company? What do they have currently? Do they have advanced security networks? Do they have something they call Bitdefender? And all of that to make sure that the network is highly secure. For example, they can introduce something like people trying to log on into the network, into the company, so that someone else that brings his or her laptop and tries to connect to the network cannot log on. So that's one of the things that we do currently, in my own organization. So what it means is, if I bring another laptop to the company and I try to, connect to the system, it will never take it. But before it will take it because it's opened. All right. So these are the things you can improve on in your risk report or in your audit report. Then you also have an application security that focuses on keeping software and devices free of threats. So for your application, like your software, accounting software, or maybe you have some other software to manage employee leave, and maybe inventory and all of that. So are they up to date? Okay, are you sure they are free from threats? All right. So this is another area that you need to carry out your risk assessment. Then another one is information security. Are you sure that your information security system protects integrity and privacy of data, both in storage and in transit? All right. So this is also very important, and you can carry out a review around application, around network, and around information, security. Then operational security that includes processes and decisions for handling and protecting data assets. All right. So this is also very important. So you need to look at the permission users have when accessing a network. For example, you don't allow even people that work in the IT department to have global access. That is a disaster. Let me say that again. Go and review access rights, access rights on your company server and security systems, or even the IT people. They can never have global access. There's some access that they needed an approval before they go in there. All right. So you need to review all of this, carry out risk assessment, because the day they are leaving the company, or something else, or they're angry with the company, they just go there and tamper with the server. Then the next question they ask is, should we have auditors? Should we have risk people? Okay. So that's why you need to, I mentioned earlier that you need to be a step ahead of your company. All right. So go and look at that. What is the level of permission? Recommend to the board. No, it can't happen like this. All right. Like, somebody told me, when I was discussing with someone on access rights, the person said, once the IT person in the employment letter automatically gives them global access. I said, no, I beg to differ. A risk manager doesn't think that way, okay? They're just exposing the company to, unnecessary attack. So we need to understand that. Then another category of cybersecurity is disaster recovery and business continuity. So you could see Feyi mentioning business continuity earlier, all right? So there are two different things. You have what we call disaster recovery. Something happens. There's an attack on your server, or there's a fire, or there's an earthquake or flood, all right? How do you recover from that? A lot of companies cannot respond to that, all right? Then do you even have business continuity planning in place? Emergency response team, okay? So these are the things that you can do that will make you to add value to your organization. So normally, there's usually, policies around here. And that's why we are here, all right? If you need any of these policies, any of this information, you can reach me, okay? If he is there, Joy is here, we will always help out. And remember, this is free. And, the essence is for us to improve on our job, okay? Even if you are a non-auditor or you are not even a risk person, you still need to be aware. For example, where you are living currently, if something happens there, do you have the fund to go and, rent another place now? So that's a question for concern. You need to think. Every business must have a backup plan. Even as individual, you must have a backup plan. For example, let's say, I'm taking you this class now. So let's just say this laptop crashed suddenly. Can I continue this class? I have already thought about it ahead of time. Okay, so I can use my phone or take up my second laptop and continue the program. That is what we call business continuity. Okay, so disaster. What is the next thing to do? Okay, do you do what we call fire drill in your company to even say, let's even assume fire happens. What will be the response time? That is the value you are adding to your company. All right. So I have a lot to say here, but there's no time. Another one is end user education. You cannot do it all alone. You need to educate your staff. All right. So that was I think last year I have to take them on cybersecurity. I have to explain to them. what they are connected, you know, your staff are connected to the company's network. You see all of them going on YouTube, going on Facebook, going on unsecured internet, what's it called, websites that can jeopardize the company system. So you can have a policy around those websites that can endanger, you know, the company by, you know, installing some bit defender to say, as soon as they click on those websites, that security is going to stop them from accessing those websites. All right. So these are the things that we need to think about. User education is very important. So you can do training, you can do workshops, you can even you can be doing what we call monthly bulletin, like I do. All right. You write on cybersecurity, you write on, you know, what they should do, and all of that to educate them, not on cybersecurity alone, actually, you know, on some other areas, you know, that is affecting business, so that you can really educate them. You know, you can do bulletins, trainings, you know, workshop, even some mail blasts, you know, and all of that, because you really need to. And remember, this is an ongoing education. Okay, I remember when I picked them up on cybersecurity, even my MD was like, come on, wow. Was just asking me a lot of questions. I think one of the questions he asked me then, or it was on what's it called, CCTV camera. He was asking me, you know, what are the risks around CCTV camera? I said, well, you can think that CCTV is recording, but it's not recording. Then the day you need it, you now find out that you are not, the CCTV is not there, even though you are seeing it on the screen, but it's not recording. So you need to be sure, you need to test, you know, to be sure that your CCTV is recording. The guy said, oh, really? Wow. Then he asked me again, what are the risks involved in cloud computing? You know, those are issues. Okay. If you have, remember, we talked about digital transformation, right? So if you transform your business, or you automate your business, all right, you know, the idea is you are making your work to be more simpler. There is also risk in that. And that's why I will always say that innovation is risky, all right? So there's always risk. So how do you not manage that risk? That's exactly what we are discussing. So your employee, the employee or your colleagues, staff, they also need to be aware. For example, they don't bring on external USB drive to the system. Okay, you know, most companies, they still commonize all of this. They are waiting for an attack to happen. For example, I have to recommend you don't allow people to bring on flash. That's why you have, you know, other technologies you can use. You can do SharePoint, file sharing, cloud computing. You know, instead of bringing what's it called, a flash drive onto the system that can corrupt the whole system, and because the system is connected to the network, you can bring the whole company down. As I am now, if I want to access my file at work, I can do that because it's based on the internet. All right. So those are the issues. Now, look at the scale of cyber threats. You know, I showed you some statistics earlier. So you could see that this is a global issue, all right? The global cyber threat continues to evolve at rapid pace. You see, with the rising number of data breaches each year, a report by Risk-Based Security Review that a shocking 7.9 billion records have been exposed to data breach. That was just in 2019. And that was more than double, 112% from what was recorded in 2018. So are we going to wait until we are attacked? So you can see that it affects almost all industry. Medical service, retailers, public entities experience the most breaches, with malicious criminals responsible for most, what's it called, incident. Okay, yeah. Now, okay, sorry, let me quickly respond to this. Somebody is asking me to share my WhatsApp contact. All right, thank you. So I'll just put it on so you can see it on the main chat. Thank you. Okay, so these are issues. Some of these sectors, you know, are more appealing to cyber criminals because you could see the amount of money those cyber criminals are making. They are making. In fact, recently they will say, I even wanted to put it on this slide. There was a company that was attacked, What they said was, pay this amount in Bitcoin. Do you see the point? So that they can't trace them. Okay, so that's serious, right? Okay, so, but let me move on. So we have types of cyber threats. We have cyber crime, cyber attack, cyber terrorism. So cyber crime includes single actors or groups targeting systems for financial gain or to cause disruption. So people, they're not even interested in your money. They just want to see whether the virus or whatever they have created is working. They just want to cause that disruption. So that's cybercrime. Attack is often involves politically motivated information gathering. Did you see the difference? Huh? Terrorism is intended to undermine electronic systems to cause panic or fear. Okay, so you need to be wary of that. So impact of cyber attacks, brand damage, customer information is exposed, management employee information, accounting software, financial reporting. Did you see that? Processes, invoicing, logistics, auditors, tax consultants, HR are impacted, intellectual property is exposed, bank details. So these are real issues, right? But there's no time for me to look at that. Now, so let me just give us some tips, cyber safety tips. Regularly update your software and operating system. Make sure they are up to date. If you are an IT auditor, ask your IT guys, what is the, do they have a report on latest update? They should show you, even if they don't have those reports, they can show you to be sure that those update server are really working, okay? And use of advanced antivirus software, just like Fia said, look at the one that is most suitable. Remember, cost is also an issue here. But when we look at things, when it comes to risk, is the impacts, okay? So if you're looking at the costs, you need to think of the impact. So if I'm supposed to spend 20,000 naira, for example, just to put up advanced security measures, then I need to look at the fact that if I don't put it on or I didn't have security measures, when the issue occurs, how much am I going to spend? Obviously, it's going to be more than 10 times, okay? So that's the angle we look at risk impact from, okay? The use of strong passwords. You know, there is a software that can read password. Even on your PIN details, you know, you use something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, or even on your system, you want to log on. That's why I have to also review my company's password management. All right. Number one, password must be changed every 30 days is in the policy. So we have to include it. All right. Number two, it must be a combination of numbers, alphabet, and special character. All right. Number three, it must be 10 character long. Okay. So that, you know, it's not going to be easy for someone to predict, number one. Number two, for any what's it called, software to be able to read those passwords. Once they can read your password online, then that's all. Okay, so strong password, you can also review your password management. Okay, even if you need some template around IT audit report, I'll be willing to share with you, right? So that you can really add value to your organization. Do not open email attachment from unknown sources. You see, I don't really have that time. I would have taken you through ways where these criminals attack. There's something we call social engineering. There's something we call denial on access attack. You see, even these cyber criminals, they will form like your MD, your managing director that normally sends mail to you for financial approvals. Okay, they send mail as if he was the one. Phishing techniques. Okay, and you go ahead and authorize. But obviously, money has gone the wrong way. So when you see an email, especially an attachment, you need to be wary of that, especially from unknown senders, because as soon as you click on it, if the care is not taken, it could be virus, all right? And it spreads to your system, and because you are connected to the company's network, everything is down. Avoid using unsecure Wi-Fi network in public places. You know, some people, when they are in public places, in restaurants, at the airport, they are looking for free Wi-Fi. You have to stop it, okay? You have to stop it because you don't know whether those Wi-Fis are surveillance. So anything you do on your phone, you are making transfers, you already have access to your account details. your PIN, your whatever, So you need to be aware of it. Then do not click on links in emails from unknown senders or unfamiliar websites. So even on WhatsApp, somebody just sent me MTN Nigeria is doing 30th anniversary. They are doing give. How now? You see? So these are the issues that we need to really be conversant with. So there are so many other tips, but because of time, yeah, they are looking for a wolf fairy. Yeah, thank you. And a lot of people has really been trapped into this. In seconds, their account are wiped off. You could see even some people even faking alerts. That is how high tech people have gone. They do transaction with you, and you receive fake alert. Does that make sense, right? Let me give you another example. I think a friend of mine was telling me that his friends, one of his friends went to the bank, applied for ATM card, and after applying, he did the authorization, or what's it called now, and the approvals and all of that at the bank. He used their POS to activate the card, and he left. On getting home, about 200,000 has left his account. What happened? The next day, he went back to the bank and he said, I came here yesterday, I activated my card, and on getting home, 200,000 has left my account. And the guy that attended to him said, did you go to any ATM, spot? He said, no, I went straight to the house. He said, maybe you withdrew sometime, you did not know. The guy said, no, the guy started shouting in the banking room or the banking hall. And all of a sudden, now stop shouting and all of that. They called the manager. I want to see your manager. The manager comes out. He narrated the story to the manager. The manager said, okay, don't worry, sit down. Do you know that in seconds, that 200,000 naira came back? Now, what happened? So most likely, it was the guy that attended to him that did the job, because, there is a device that they can put on those ATM. Once they swipe your card like that, it will automatically record all the information. So that's why if you go to restaurants, if you go to maybe airport or anywhere that you are using your, what's it called, your ATM, okay, your card, monitor it yourself, okay? You have to monitor it yourself. They can just swipe it. Even all these POS points, you have to monitor it yourself, all right? So that is very important. Now, so let me just do some conclusion because of time. Like I said, I could have prepared about 100 slides, but digital transformation across industry has led to a rapid changing business environment, which offers exponentially augmenting opportunities for new capabilities and initiatives. So, no, we are not saying we won't be digitalized. We are not saying we won't operate on cyberspace, but the idea is let's be aware of the risk that is involved. All right. Then I have this quote for us before I hand over to my amiable host, right? Many things in life can be safely ignored, but ignoring cybersecurity safe practices is an open invitation to disaster. That's from JC Hunter. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so very much, Mr. AY Ladukun. Can we all hear me, please?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Wow. That was insightful. That was educative. I mean, digital transformation and cyber security. I couldn't stop exclaiming. I wish you guys heard me. Okay, right about now, we'll open up for questions and answers. On this topic, we've looked at current issues and emerging trends for internal audit. We've looked at managing changing business risk profile. And now we just concluded on digital transformation and cybersecurity. Questions, please. Let's drop them in the chat box. I think we have a couple of questions already. We have a couple of questions already. Please keep them coming. This was this was insightful. Yes, yes, so many comments. Okay, AY, there's a question here. Someone is asking, is Windows Defender a reliable antivirus for our businesses? That's from Jeffrey. Jeffrey permits me. I'll stop there. Your surname is a tongue twister. Is Windows Defender a reliable antivirus for our businesses? That's from Jeffrey. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, okay, thank you. That was a very brilliant question. Bitdefender, right? Yeah, for now, we'll say yes. But remember that, I mentioned something to say what is obtainable yesterday may not be obtainable today. Okay. So that's why, the technology world is quite dynamic, right? So, before now, the security measures that you have is all these common, is it Neutron, and all of that. All of a sudden, they are not working again. Okay, so you can easily bypass Neutron, is it McAfee, and all of that. So they have to improve on that, and we have a Bitdefender, for example. But you can also rely on Windows Defender alone. Naturally, your systems has a Windows Defender that comes with the system. But for a company, maybe personally, you can rely on that. But for a company, you cannot, because there are sophisticated attacks, software that will wipe off your Windows Defender as well, So that's why you need to go for advanced security measures. So for now, as far as I know, Bitdefender is highly reliable. But like I said, you also need to be conversant with, latest technology, newer version, and also improve on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think that is a perfect response to the question. Yes, okay. Jack is asking, what's the best practice? What's the best practice regarding access control? Yeah, you talked about access control and even the fact that IT staff, IT officials shouldn't have public global control. That I caught that. So Jack is asking, what's the best practice regarding access control?
All right. Thank you, Jack. All right. You see, what I would say here is we can't say there is a globally accepted practice, for example. Okay. But I will also say that the best practice would be that no single person should have a global right. Okay, that would be the best practice. Now, when it now comes to scaling it down, okay, you can now, for example, you have a lot of access and privileges. For example, you have admin rights. Some people can modify, some people can only add people to the network, all right? And there's also what's it called? Super substitute access, all right? Where you can give your access right to a vendor, for example, all right? So that's another area. Okay. So, but the issue is, for me personally, I don't think it's safe for a company to give someone a global access. They can have access, when it is required. I think that's the best practice. When it is required. For example, they needed to modify a workflow, maybe they are changing workflow from, this person seeing this transaction and all of that. Then it should go through approval so that everybody is aware that at this point in time, this person, maybe the IT manager, has access to this level. Okay, just like the bank, for example, I don't think the bank will want to give global access to one single person. No, it's not done. Okay, if it's done in your company, maybe you're not really exposed to a lot of financial issues and all of that, but it's something you still need to review and take it to the management or to the board, as it were, and give them your reasons. Okay, what if the guy is angry with the company one day and he decides to shut down the company because he has global access? So as far as I'm concerned, no single person should have a global access, right? So that should be the best practice. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that response. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so Ubong is saying he's commending your presentation, and he says, I save all my work on OneDrive. I pay some money monthly for the space I use. I think OneDrive is powered by Microsoft, and I use paid Kaspersky as antivirus. I need to know what risks I stand to face on saving all documents on OneDrive. What may happen if I stop paying for the space?
Oh, what a question. You know, just like my MD asked me the other day, what's the risk involved in using that's cloud computing actually, uh, OneDrive, all right? Now, the risk is, you know, normally if you don't have internet, you cannot access it, right? So from your own point of view, if you don't have internet, you can access it. But that means you must ensure that you have internet all the time so that you can access those files, right? Then if you are using multiple devices, for example, you can access it at work, you can also access it in your house, or let me assume this is a personal OneDrive, all right, and you're using multiple devices, you must make sure that anytime you work on it, it is updating, okay? So there's always an icon that will show you that it's updating, because if at that point in time, it was not updated, probably because we're not connected to the internet, or the internet was very slow, by the time you close those applications or whatever you're working on, and you want to reopen it again, it will just tell you are unable to merge and you have lost it. So that's a risk, right? Now, from the perspective of the provider, it is only when something happens to Microsoft, maybe there's an attack on Microsoft. So that's when you are now globally exposed, okay? Now, and you know, the way it works is you have already saved your files or probably your bank details on their space, right? If anything should happen to them and hackers are able to access those information, then all your money is gone. That's the truth. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that response. Thank you very much. Wow. I recall you talked about a ransomware where there was this hack and the victims were required to make a payment in cryptocurrency to bail themselves out. I like the relationship between all topics that have been treated today, all the papers, all the activities. It has really been enlightening. It has really been enlightening. And for the fact that it's a dynamic environment we are operating, it's a change, an ever-changing phase, an ever-changing environment. I'm sure that we have been fully equipped. We've been fully equipped with a lot more than a lot more than we actually envisaged before now, and we are ready to not just survive or adapt in this environment, but to set the pace and to lead. I can bet that every one of us has penned down recommendations, strong recommendations in AY's voice for management and for the better operations in our workspace. Okay, I just saw a pop-up on my screen. Ubong is also asking on OneDrive, what is your advice? Should I stop using it as if anything happens to the host affecting? Okay, AY, Mr. Ayomi, sorry, there's a question still on OneDrive from Ubong, and he's saying, should I stop using it as if anything happens to the host? From your response, anything happens to the host, it affects me. Should I stop using OneDrive? What would you advise?
Okay. If you know, like we said, we can't really run away from technology, right? So if it's quite important, you can't really stop it. What you can do is to also have a backup plan. You get, for example, all my files in OneDrive or the cloud, I also have an external drive where I, you know, periodically update them. In fact, daily. Okay, so I have to update them because I can wake up tomorrow morning and everything is gone. Okay, so what will I rely on? I can't access the what's it called? So even in companies, there must be a separate backup, you know, so that if any, for example, the company that I told you earlier that was attacked early in the year, thank God they had a separate backup. They couldn't recover the attack, you know, the files from the ones that was attacked anymore. So they have to rely on, you know, the separate server as a for the recovery. Okay, you can imagine if there's no external backup. All right. So what it means is, even for companies, you must have minimum of dual backup. Okay, as you back up in the cloud, you also have an external physical one. You can imagine bank, for example. Imagine Zenith Bank on the mainland. Zenith Bank has backup in their premises. They have backup on the island, so that if maybe it's water that swept off Zenith Bank on the mainland, they can easily recover from the island. In fact, in some organizations, they have backup outside the country. So you see, it depends on how we take risk management, seriously, all right? And serious organizations, they don't mind, because they need to continue in business. So just have, a separate backup offline. Thank you.
All right. That's perfect. Have a dual backup, and that's the response. There's also something else on the chat for you, and I've seen your feedback, Ubon. Thank you very much for your responses. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, my brilliant speakers and facilitators, for the enlightening session. This has been value packed. In fact, I least expected I was going to pen down all these I had down. And please, for those of us that are used to free Wi-Fi, you've heard it too. Your transactions or your activity online can be monitored by that means. Please, let's do well to subscribe and fill our data with our personal data as much as possible, and rely on them as much as possible. I'm really excited. I'm really happy that this Congress, the second annual Risk Management Congress, happened today. And we're drawing the curtains. We're wrapping up. My co-moderator, Chidima Osigwe, are you there?
Yes, I am here. It's been an exciting journey of learning today. I cannot imagine I've been stuck on my seat for this long hour. It's been really exciting.
Oh, wow. I was also amazed.
I had an amazing time, from Usekon Joy to Faye Togan to Ayomi Ladoku. Like, it's been amazing.
Now, do we tell them who we really are? Are you Chidima? Cybersecurity. Yeah. How would they decode? You guys had the tips from Ayomi. How would you decode? How would you know this is Princess and that is?
Let's save them the stress.
We are who we say we are. Exactly. We know that there are some persons lurking around and trying to, hinge on the new technology, the innovation, and try to be naughty. We're not fraudsters, and we're going to stay alert. We're going to manage the risks in our environment. We're going to be cyber smart. Yes, exactly. Every cyber attack, every cyber terror, every cyber crime, we're fully equipped to curb them.
Yeah, and there is no such thing as risk-free.
No.
We have been risk educated. So run away when you see free Wi-Fi. It's unsafe for your device and it's unsafe for your money.
Exactly.
Okay. So
I don't know.
You can go ahead.
I don't know if our convener has something to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I need to appreciate everyone, our moderators. They want to kill us with beauty. My presenters, they have been so amazing. So when I call upon them, they were eager, they were so, interested in trying to add value to people from their wealth of experiences and all of that. So Faye Togan, thank you very much. God bless you. Joy, I sincerely appreciate you. And this is the second edition, like you said. So most likely, by God's grace, we'll see around this time again next year. But by the way, we have a platform, that's Risk Intelligence platform. Can you see that name, Risk Intelligence, right? So where we also discuss risk, it's a WhatsApp platform. And that's where this program, emanated from. So in case you wanted to join, you can chat me up. I will give you the link. So we discuss risk, it's just to help ourselves on our jobs and all that. So once again, Thank you so much, the beauty queens. Thank you so much, facilitator. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Have a good
Ooh.
night.
Here we draw the curtains. You can go to your bed. You can hug your pillow. You can be yourself. Thank you so much, participants. It's been really amazing having you guys on this platform. You all made this a success. I am very grateful. So
Enjoy
from the
your
floors of
weekend.
Seed Stars Consulting, good night.
Good night.